What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Happy Friday, gang. You made it. 148 on Joker just went running out of the room. I think he was sound asleep under the table. Sorry, buddy. Poor guy. Woke up with a start. Anyway, hope your Friday's going well. You've basically made it through the week. If you're still working hard at nearly 2 o'clock on Friday, I feel like you planned your week wrong. So hopefully you're light rest of your afternoon. Rainy day here in the New York area. Not all that nice, but we're getting through. We've got a monster 13-game MLB slate to talk about for tonight, so no time to really dilly-dally. Not you, Dylan. That's what my mom calls her dog, Dylan, who's laying across the room staring at me. He didn't move when I started the show. Joker, who's here every day for the show, terrified, ran out of the room. Dylan, house guest, sitting there like staring. You stare a lot. He's not a whiny dog when he needs something. He's one of the dogs that'll just come in and just like dead stare at you. And if you ignore him, he'll just stand there and keep staring at you. Fun stuff. Anyway, Cujo's here. What's up, Cuj? Hope your day's going well too, buddy. Hope the week went well. Couple people I'm sure will be trickling in over the next little bit, but I don't want to, again, burn too much time at the top of the show because we had a lot to get through. So I'm just going to kind of dive in. People can catch up when they will. As you can see, gigantic slate. Several really good-looking spots for runs. The ones that really stand out are the games that are being played in the minor league parks. That's the Braves at Rays. We've got a lot of power on the Braves side of that one anyway. They're pulling in a 4.33, 4.34 implied total. Tampa's actually favored on the other side of that game. They're in a pretty good spot going up against Bryce Elder, and the Braves are clipped a little bit here in the run total by the fact that they're facing Taj Bradley, who could come up with a gigantic strikeout game and just whiff a ton of those guys, and we don't see any of that power come through. But Taj is very hit and miss. He reminds me of the guy who's going for San Francisco, Robbie Ray, except being a righty, of course. A lot of walks, a lot of hit and miss type games, gives up a lot of power, gave up 2 home runs, had a rougher one in his second start. We'll talk about it. But this one's showing a ton of power upside. The Braves are actually leading the board as far as projections go. I believe they're one of the top 3-4 teams on the power index as well. They're either first or second, maybe third, because both of these teams, the Mets and the A's, are showing massive power upside. We've got like 4 or 5 guys above the magic number for the Mets, a couple of them for the A's. That looks like a huge spot. That's a 10-run total right now. Vegas giving that ballpark in Sacramento that we've talked about a lot of credit already. I haven't actually tweaked. I told you guys I put that in as kind of a neutral park. I haven't tweaked it yet for these early park factors. I think a lot of that, like Tyler Soderstrom's hit a handful of home runs already. Like, I think a lot of it is just you got to wait out, a little bit of normalization. But it's looking very hitter friendly to start. 10-run total, it's just popping no matter what without me influencing it. Had I done anything to it, it would be shooting to the moon. 535 implied total, 476 implied total, 2 of the highest, and tie for the third highest. Multi-way tie for third highest at 476, though. 3-way tie. So both the games in the minor league parks, I think, are absolute priorities. I think maybe we get away with the Braves being a little bit lighter owned than they ought to be, but it's also a potential downside spot. Top of the board, Blue Jays at the Orioles. Capable Orioles offense, we could definitely draw some bats there. They're always on the board to have a big day. Giants at the Yanks, definitely Yankee Stadium type game. Marcus Stroman on the bump for the Yankees. Not a huge fan, but can suppress offense in terms of not allowing too much power most of the time. Keeping the ball down is kind of his game. But the Giants have been rolling through the start of the season. Interesting collision of 2 teams that have. Well, the Yanks have cooled off over the last little bit, but coming back home, torpedo bats, et cetera, they'll get back on the board in a hurry. Robbie Ray's the interesting X factor there. He could very much come in and strike out 10 Yankees and have a great day. He could come in and walk a few guys, give up a monster home run, and be out of the picture pretty quickly. Very volatile pitcher, but a lot of top-end value. The Nats at the Marlins, the return of Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. Don't think we're going there. I only gave him like 3.5 innings, not really stretched out. On the National side, it's Mitchell Parker. We could consider him. Vegas has it dead even, or had it dead even a little earlier, 4.04 runs on either side of that one. The Red Sox at the White Sox. Red Sox looking pretty solid, 4.47 implied total going up against Davis Martin. White Sox, we pretty much avoid 3.63 implied total. Lubob's supposed to be back in the lineup. They also did have a interesting call up for the White Sox, just something to be aware of. I dropped him into the projected lineup. It's Chase Meadroth. He was a big acquisition from the Red Sox organization, actually, in the what was it, the Crochet deal, I guess. Making his MLB debut, he'd gotten off to a pretty hot start in the minors, over 40-something plate appearances, replacing Jake Amaya in the projected lineup. Not available on DK right now, but he was available on FanDuel. I think he's min-priced. Kid's supposed to be pretty good, but it's just such a weak stack that I don't know how excited about it we get. That said, they're facing off against Sean Newcomb, so of all days, maybe we can kick around some cheapo White Sox, at least around a couple bats. We'll see. Tigers at the Twins. David Festa returning to the show. Made 2 minor league starts. One went well, one didn't go great, but very, very high-end pitching prospect. We saw a little bit of him last year. Really like the upside in the long term. Going up against Detroit, kind of a mid-grade type matchup for him here. I think he could easily get through this team, but we know there's some bats and some quality on that Detroit team now. So, shaky spot. He did get added to the DraftKings slate. He wasn't on there early. Only 6,500 and projects fairly well. Going to be interesting for DK value. I added him to the site just before the show started. On the Twins side, you can maybe consider that, but I do like Reese Olson, who's going for the Tigers. 4.17 implied total versus a 3.91 implied total, 3.92 implied total for Detroit. The Angels mashing baseballs. I think they said on Central that they're third in the league in home runs now, after that just ridiculous display last night. And if we need evidence about that Tampa field, I mean, I think, we're not citing any one game as actual evidence, but that is certainly a good indicator. The first day that it got really kind of warm there, it was 80-something degrees there. The ball was flying. Joe Adell, 2 home runs. Taylor Ward. Did Ward hit 2? I think Ward also hit 2. Mike Trout hit 1. Just absolutely flying out of the ballpark. So yet another reason, or that's not why Tampa looks good today. It just is going to be those conditions all season long, and it's going to get worse, or better for offense, worse for it being another Coors essentially all season long. What I'm worried about is that we're going to have 3 Coors fields if this one actually trends the way that it looks like it might trend, which would be kind of anti what that analysis that Graphs did had said. They were kind of worried about the air density. Anyway, the Angels are in Houston following up that monster performance. 4.19 implied total for them, a 9-run game overall. They're going up against Ronel Blanco. The Astros looking a whole hell of a lot better on their side. The second highest total on the board, 4.91. We definitely know there are some quality bats there. Isaac Paredes gets to take shots in his friendly home confines here, so maybe we consider some of the top-end Astros as a stack, but they'll probably draw some popularity. The one that's kind of complex here, for me at least, is the Phillies. There's no way to suppress the top of that lineup. They're Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, and several other good players. All that much, unless the model does it. Like, I don't want to go in there and artificially do it. And the numbers for this one really aren't. Philly was coming through pretty strong. I moved them down on the stacks board where I'm ranking things and moving some things around. I did move them down to give Vegas a little bit of respect here. 3.85 implied total for them going up against Andre Palante, who he's good at keeping the ball down. He's good at checking power a little bit, but he's not anything that's really... I just don't see him overcoming this Phillies team if you roll this a ton of times. I don't think they're the lead stack of the day, which is why I did end up moving them down, like I said. But I don't know that Vegas is respecting him as much as they ought to be here either at a 3.85. Just a 7.5 run total in that game. 3.73 on the other side for the Cards. Not really in love with that Cards lineup. Mix and match type pieces. Colorado on the road against a righty. We are definitely considering some Nick Pivetta today, who's on the mound for the Padres. Pods monster favorites. 4.48 implied total for them. The Rockies, the lowest total on the board at 3.11. Very dramatically low total. That lineup does have some youthful power in it this year, as we've discussed a bunch of times, but Pivetta's looking pretty dominant in this one. You can get contrarian, though. I wouldn't call you crazy if you said, I had out of my 50 lineups, I had 2 or 3 Rocky stacks just to get different with against a really popular pitcher. I don't think it's nuts. Milwaukee at Arizona, 476 implied total for the Diamondbacks. They're looking pretty decent. It's Jose Quintana on the mound for Milwaukee. And then the Brewers just drawing a 3.94, but they've got some pieces and parts that we can always consider. There's just some top-end value in that Brewers lineup pretty much any day. 8.5 run total there. Pitching duel in Seattle. Ballpark favors pitching, 6.5 run total, the low point on the board. Bryce Miller on the mound for the Mariners. Their excellent young righty going up against Jacob deGrom, the returned Jacob deGrom. He wasn't great, but he did get through 5 2/3. He did ramp up to 80-something pitches in his last outing. I gave him, and considering that he can get through, he's very, very capable of getting through 5 and change 6 innings on 80-something pitches. Considering we're probably getting in a little bit of an uptick into the 90 range, I gave him 6. And this is, again, the Mariners at home, which we are going to target all season long with pitching. Jake deGrom topped the board for pitching shares. I don't think we want to overthink that one. I think we just use them. Mets, A's, as mentioned, leading the board in terms of runs for the implied runs for the Mets. Multiple guys above the magic number for power upside. Love that spot for them going up against JP Sears. And then the Athletics, not to be ignored at 4.76 on the other side of that one, playing in the same ballpark with all their power upside. And then we round things out with the Cubbies against the Dodgers. Dodgers pulling a pretty solid total against Matthew Boyd, who got out to a start that we get some ignorant Cubs fans excited, but not our pal XX Cubs fan. He knows better than that. He even mentioned it in Discord. Dodgers probably going to ruin Matthew Boyd here. Coming back the other way, it's Yoshi Yamamoto on the mound for LA going up against the strong starting Cubbies. Let's hit the like button. We'll pull up the pitching board here. I'm not going to do the full guy by guy here. We'll talk it through as we go game by game. But a couple of the highlights. As mentioned, monster up at the top of the board. Excellent opportunity for a quality pitcher. Fairly priced, 93.91, I would say. 10.6 is a little bit over the top for Yoshi Yamamoto in this spot, in my mind, on FanDuel, considering where deGrom is priced, where Pivetta is priced, where Aaron Nola, Bryce Miller, all these other guys are priced. That seems aggressive, but he's very, very good. That Cubs lineup is also very good, though. 97 on DraftKings. He's also the most expensive over there, but at least he's a little closer to the pack. FanDuel just got a little overexcited about it. No issues with Nola against St. Louis. Bryce Miller against Texas on the other side of the deGrom start. I definitely want to have some shares of. And then a couple of the values. Reese Olson, significant value option at 7,100. That is a very, very good right-handed pitcher going up against a gettable Twins lineup with plenty of Ks in it. Taj Bradley is interesting. I love the strikeout upside, but I'm very worried about the walks. I'm very worried about the power, and it's exactly the same with Robbie Ray. I compared them. I swear to God, I didn't know they were going to be right next to each other when I made that comparison before. I just think it's very similar type guys in terms of the results you get. Bowden Francis is interesting at 78. David Festa, I already mentioned, 65, kind of looking like the SP2 darling of the day on DraftKings. I don't expect them to be short-started here. And honestly, you could have let him fly for slightly over 30 fantasy points, another strikeout essentially, a little bit over 15 fantasy points on the DraftKings side. Could have given him a little bit more room. It isn't a safe spot. That Detroit lineup is good enough to get him, underexperienced starter, but that's a great price for his upside. I think Griffin Canning's in play at 73. Newcomb, I question what it's really going to look like at 63. Herman Marquez, I kind of question at 6,000 what it's going to look like against the Pods with them drawing pretty good Vegas numbers. And then down the rest of the board gets a little bit dicey. Like, I don't want to chase strikeouts with some very low strikeout pitchers like Andre Palante, Davis Martin, Sugano looks like he's that nature. I mentioned Edward Cabrera not going to have the innings. Kachanowicz is a hard no. JP Sears in different spots, maybe different ballpark. Maybe we talk about him at some point, especially if he's cheaper than 77. This just doesn't feel like a good price fit in that ballpark against this Mets team today from down here. So I think you really got some very high quality options right there. They'll probably get a little bit popular. Maybe you get that one, but again, the ballpark is really working against Griff Canning there too. If this game was in Queens, Canning would be way more interesting and Sears would be playable. Parker, maybe, but he's 7,900. You're not saving that much. I'd probably, Bowden Francis Robbie Ray for the strikeout upside at 8,000 against the Yankees for just a little bit more, for 100 more than Mitchell Parker. It's a much better matchup going up against the Marlins, and Parker's all right, but There's probably more upside here for 100 more downside as well. Anyway, that's the quick breakdown of the pitching slate. Joker, come here, buddy. What's the matter? He's whining in the other room. Hang on. What's the matter, dude? Come here. Come lay down. Come and lay down, pal. What's the problem? Weird. You're being weird, dude. Maybe the dogs across the hall were barking. All right, let's get us started. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Check out rotoscouts.com. Under $1 a day gets you access to baseball for this gigantic slate, every other main slate, and we're throwing in a lot of the afternoon slates when they come up as similarly sized to the mains. You get NBA in that for the rest of the regular season, all the way through the playoffs. NHL, same thing. Every main slate through the rest of the regular season and the playoffs. NFL when it comes back. Anything else I think to drop on the site. Under $1 a day, all in. No per sport fees. Weekly, monthly, quarterly plans available at rotoscouts.com. Give it a look. All right. Bowden Francis. Hot pitcher down the stretch last season. Kind of okay in his first 2 outings, I'll say. Went up against Washington, struck out 4, walked 3, gave up 2, earned on 2 home runs. Faced the Mets in the second one, 5 1/3, gave up 2 earned runs on 6 hits, struck out 6 in that one, walked 2, didn't give up any homers. So kind of 1 good, 1 okay. But he is definitely a pitcher that was coming in with a lot of, we're going to have to see what it actually is. Because the truth of the matter was, even with his good numbers down the last handful of starts last year, finished with a 3.30 ERA, which is quite good, but a 4.17 xFIP. We were already betrayed a little bit by that. Just a decent strikeout to walk pitcher last season with a little, again, uptick from a hot final handful of games. Gave up a bunch of home runs, limited by stuff plus, sub-average stuff plus, which is kind of carrying through. He's right around the league average right now. He's given up a couple home runs in the tiny sample of starts. We're really right in line with where we were last year. So I think we're going to get a lot of back and forth with Bowden Francis, but it should at least keep him affordable. Like at 78 on DraftKings, I think he's a playable SP2 here, but he's in no way a priority going up against a very good Orioles lineup that's drawing a 4.25 implied total. Tomo Sugano, be aware, the sites, FanDuel and DraftKings, are both spelling his name Tomoyuki, but Fangraphs and some of the stats are spelling it Tomoyoki, which is creating conflicts. So made the changes here. We're all set here, but just in your own processes and whatnot, just be aware of that. 66, 78. I just don't think there's a ton of strikeout upside going up against a already low strikeout Blue Jays lineup just in what they do. And he's a low strikeout, eat some innings type pitcher. 4 strikeouts in his second start. That was against the Royals. He gave up 1 earned run on a solo homer over 5 1/3, faced 23 hitters. That kind of a start, very much within expectations, but that's right around where he's projected here. A 20-point start, a 24-point start, something like that on the FanDuel scale, 10 to 12 DraftKings points. It's okay for the money, but it comes with a lot of downside, at least from the top end of the Blue Jays lineup, which, as we've discussed, very top-heavy team, but there's some extreme talent up there, and it's very difficult to come up with those even for strikeouts. 12.2% over his first 2 starts, 9 1/3 innings, 2.89 ERA. You can see where Stuff Plus has him. You can see what the xFIP in those 2 starts was. So, yeah, he got away with some. Didn't really induce many swinging strikes. Didn't really throw that many strikes in general. Handful of fly balls in there. So I don't really get excited about this spot. At best, it's a bargain bin dart throw with very limited appeal. It's one of those dusty things down at the bottom that you have to even see what it is. If we're considering bats, which I do think we can, I prefer the Orioles side. 4-2-5 with some better bats with a definitely longer end-to-end lineup. This is a solid 9-man lineup versus the other side, which is 3.5 to 4. So you get a lot more quality on the Orioles. But starting with the team I like less, up top, the visiting Blue Jays. Bo Bichette still cheap at 43.29. He's off to an okay start. We're just getting on base. We're hitting for a little bit of average early. I had to ex-Woba to the stat board last night, by the way. Completely forgotten I had done that until I just saw it. 106 WRC plus for Bo Bichette to get things started. So we're seeing signs of life. after his dead half of the season last year. 11.5% barrels and 48.1% hard hits is very appealing. Low strikeout, tons of bat on ball available against this pitcher. So Bichette I like. Bolting him onto Vladdy is kind of a straightforward first choice option. 43.52 for those two players is very good. Same pricing on FanDuel, also very good. Vladdy yet to homer yet this season. We will end the season with 30-something home runs. He will be perfectly fine. Just getting a little bit cheap. 5,200 is not a bad price to find Vladdy Guerrero on the board on DK. Why is his hang on, this is just going to annoy me. When did they add the junior? Yeah, there is a... Somebody changed something on Vladdy's name that made that not work, even with the if error in there. Weird. Love when things change just for no good reason whatsoever. Anyway, Anthony Santander for 4,200, massive power upside. 10.72 in the home run model today, going up against a pitcher who's going to allow plenty of contact, who is potentially going to allow plenty of power going through this season. So far, we've seen it. 9.4% barrels on a 16-degree average launch, 40.6% hard hits. The exit velo hasn't been immense, but I do think it's a targetable pitcher given the volume of contact that's available. And with a bat like Santander being as cheap as he is, he also is yet to homer this season. 0.019 ISO is nowhere near where we want him, but I think we know he's quite a bit better than that. The contact has been ugly. It's been up there flailing to start the year, 27.4% strikeouts. But again, much, much better than that. Gets shots at Sugana from the left side here. Andres Jimenez is more a contact hitter, more a speed-oriented guy. He has 3 oddball home runs, 3 stolen bases to start the year, 224 ISO. Most of that is not going to continue as far as the power goes. 45-32, though, as a bolt-on part at second base, perfectly fine. And then George Springer at 44-33, 2 home runs. Great start to his season, over 49 plate appearances that won't mean much in the long term, but a good start. 237 WRC plus from a player who had a very down year last year and remains cheap at 44.33. Cheap on DraftKings. FanDuel's closing in on correct. For what George Springer once was, that's a very cheap price, and he's looking like the player he once was right now. So grab him while he's cheap on DK. It's a straight 5-man 1 through 5 with this team on DraftKings, and then you're dealing with situations like, all right, am I building multiple Blue Jays lineups? Then sure, I'll grab some shares of Will Wagner, Ernie Clement with multi-position for under 3,000 apiece. Either one of those guys could hit you a long ball, but they're very few and far between. Alan Roden made the team out of camp and has promptly done nothing. 229, 317, 286, and 84 WRC plus. Clinging to a role, I would imagine here. Alejandro Kirk is just a decision. Do I want to take my catcher out of this for a cheap price at 29 if I'm playing on DK? On FanDuel, you need Kirk a lot less. You're obviously going Vladdy at first base. You don't probably want to occupy your util with Alejandro Kirk all that many times. A couple times if you're building 25 Blue Jays stacks, sure. But he's no way a priority. You do get 3 positions apiece out of Wagner and Clement over there for 2,300. Those guys are playable, but it's just playable from Springer down. 1 through 5 is not bad. The Orioles lineup we know pretty well at this point. We've got a superstar in the leadoff spot with Gunnar Henderson for 54.38. Honestly, a couple bucks cheap going up against Bowden Francis, a pretty gettable righty. Again, even though he was good for a few starts last year, he's very average. His good starts got him to average numbers for the season last year. And that was with, again, Stuff Plus hovering just below the average last year. 0.12 below the average so far this year. So it's a gettable starter. Adley Rutschman for 5,400. It's expensive, but you're getting tons of quality. 2 home runs on the board, a 156 ISO to start the year, a 137 WRC plus, 385 xWOBA. Adley Rutschman is one of the best catchers in baseball for DFS, full stop. Low strikeout, high walk rate so far this year, matches what he was doing the last 2 seasons. Big fan of that catcher. Ryan O'Hearn, 3,600. Big fan of that price. First base and outfield for 28 on FanDuel's great. 281, 361, 469 to start the year. 188 ISO, 1 home run on the board. Creating runs 46% better than average in the small sample. Doing Ryan O'Hearn things, not striking out, drawing his walks. He's a high quality player in the heart of this lineup for a very cheap price essentially every single day. Grab the lefty bat against a mediocre righty. Jordan Westberg for 46, second and third eligible. FanDuel's got the right price at 35, same positioning. This is cheap. He is 400 to 500 cheap on DraftKings. Monster contact numbers. 3 home runs on the board already this season. 209 ISO, a 137 WRC plus, and 8.06 in the home run model. Didn't mean to do that. Meant to go over 1. Last year, 18 home runs in 470 something plate appearances. Cedric Mullins also hit 18 while stealing a bunch of bases last year. He's got 3 on the board this season, 2 stolen bases while slashing 286, 400, 571 over his first handful of plate appearances. 50. It's a very good start to a season for a guy who is a still high-quality multi-category contributor. Another guy, 47, a little bit light on DK, 34 on FanDuel, is closer to correct. Very solid mid-board options here, and you can take any of these guys. You can play the price, the position, the ownership game with these guys all day long because you get similar upside out of all of them and similar just quality out of all of them and low basements out of all of them. Tyler O'Neill with his monster power. 1 home run on the board that came on opening day and hasn't done much since, but he is slashing 316, 386, 526 with a 211 ISO along the way, 165 WRC plus, and that's while barreling the ball 19.4% of the time. I promise you, if Tyler O'Neill keeps that up, we will finish the season with well over 30 home runs. So just a matter of time. The price is right at 46. I will happily pay 35 for his 10.32 in the home run model. Gunner also over the magic number, by the way. Houston Kjerstad was the guy I picked just for the hell of it from this team for the home run picks from this team. Lefty stick, 6.39 in the home run model. Hasn't done much to start the year. Just kind of giving him a kick in the ass to inspire him to hit one. 3,300, 2,400. We'll see if he's even in the lineup today, but they'll probably get the lefty in there. Not a bad price, 45.5% hard hits so far if we need something to point to, 43.9% last year. We're struggling with consistency with Kjerstad. 4 home runs, 253, 351, 394 last year with a 116 WRC plus in 114 plate appearances. It's not bad. Ryan Mountcastle, we're waiting on the power to come roaring back for him as well. Great sign in the contact numbers, though. Over 43 plate appearances, 15.2% barrels. And again, this is a sample of probably like 9 batted ball events. So keep everything in perspective, but 15.2% barrels, 54.5% hard hits. We need him to be in that kind of territory. That's around what he was a couple seasons ago. It's a guy who got some power sapped by them moving the wall in left field in his home park. And I think that probably got into his head a little bit and just had weird drainage of power. But I do expect it to come back. The contact is too good. And then Jackson Holliday at 38-28 across sides, both middle infield spots. He's got a homer and a stolen base on the board to start the year. He slipped below average for WRC plus. The xwOBA at just 262. Definitely a little bit low, 150 ISO. We need to see more quality consistently from Jackson Holliday, but the talent is very, very real. So you can just take advantage of the price and the positioning, use them as a wraparound back to the top quality. This is a firmly 1 through 9 lineup, and they have multiple guys on the bench. If you have Ramon Urias in the lineup today, he is super usable. Any given slate. There are multiple guys on this team that could fill spots, and they remain a 1 through 9 lineup. So big fan of this Orioles team. In general, this is Orioles bats. Orioles bats, Bowden Francis on Orioles bats, Blue Jays bats, Bowden Francis on either side. Don't use Tomo Sagano. Thank you, Black Man. I always forget to bring up the weather. It's raining in this in the New York area as well, but it's baseball rain. Like you could easily play through what's coming down here in New York right now. It's been like gray, drizzly kind of a day. But yeah, let me pull up Mr. Roth here real quick. I did pull it up earlier when I was doing the projections because I wanted to see if there was anything in that St. Louis game where I mentioned that the Phillies were so low. And that game's like, decent, mid-50s. Not exactly warm, not exactly baseball weather. This is worse than it was earlier, though. All right, so Roth has downgraded this now to red-orange. And saying, all right, his exact quote is, I won't say there's no chance of playing, but I will say if models are correct in what they're currently showing, they aren't playing tonight. Good call out there. And he's downgraded the Yanks game to orange now. Light showers around first pitch will gradually turn into legit rain by a late game. Multiple hurdles here, yada, yada, yada. It's a weekend series. National League team from the West Coast in town. Wind blowing in from left field in 40-degree days. Yeah, he's saying they should move the game up an hour or two and try and play it. Obviously, we'll keep an eye out for that. But yeah, now problems in these Eastern Seaboard games for sure. Boston at the White Sox is cold. Atlanta, Tampa Bay's got some rain in the area, but more delay than anything else. Remember, that's not a dome this year. That's going to be problematic all summer. And then KC, Cleveland, wind blowing in, weather in the 40s. But yeah, good call out there. Appreciate it. Keep an eye, obviously, on the rain in Baltimore. Good news is neither of those teams, neither of those pitchers was super high priority. Just a lot of playability among the bats at the top of the Blue Jays lineup and all throughout that Athletics lineup, or that Orioles lineup. Athletics too. Braves, Rays. So this game, again, as just mentioned, no longer playing in a dome in Tampa. So keep your eye on that rain that's blowing through. We know how Florida can be with rain. It's typically later in the summer that we really worry about that. We saw the ball absolutely flying out of Steinbrenner Field last night, and it's going to continue as long as the weather warms up. And it'll get worse and worse as the weather gets hotter and hotter down there. So it's going to be a problematic ballpark. Same dimensions as Yankee Stadium, so it plays up lefty power very, very nicely. Matty Olson at 13.54. Come on down. You're the home run pick of the day. I think I already hit one with Matty Olson, that one that he's got on the board. I'm pretty sure he was the home run pick that day. But just love the power that we're seeing from the Braves. 4 guys above the magic number, 2 guys in the 9s, and a guy in the 8s with Brian De La Cruz down there. And then 7.3 for Jared Kelenic, who costs $2,100 on DraftKings. 26 on FanDuel, but 21 on DraftKings. That is noteworthy. Kelenic has not been off to a good start. He hit 1 home run. He's got a .097 ISO, just a 254 xWOBA, 60 WRC plus, slashing 161, 278, 258. This is a player who needs to go on a tear to save his job or his prospects of ever being an effective major leaguer. But the talent is there. You can see it in the last 2 years of barrel and hard hit rate, 9.945, 9.5, 45.5. Tons of strikeouts in there, but he's drawing walks at the major league level both of those years. I'm not giving up on this player and getting his lefty ability to make contact against a pitcher who can be very home run prone in this ballpark on a day that's flashing power is very interesting to me at 2,100. I have a healthy respect for Taj Bradley and his strikeout upside. You can see all of Taj Bradley already on display right there in his 2 starts this year. 4.91 ERA, but a 3.30 xFIP. A 105 mark by Stuff Plus is way over the mark. 13.8% swinging strikes. You should have a better CSW than 29.4 with 13.8% swinging strikes, but this is already still excellent. Hasn't really allowed that many base runners despite a 9.1% walk in the tiny sample, 31.8% strikeouts. But he's allowed 12% barrels on a 20-degree average launch. 32% hard hits is great. 88.6 miles an hour of exit velo is manageable. But when you make these mistakes, you're going to give up a couple of home runs along the way, 4.55% home run rate. The reason I'm highlighting all the small sample stuff is because you can see how it comes through over here. It's very similar. High home run rate, too much hard hit and exit velo, too many barrels, fly ball trajectory, a lot of strikeouts, tons of swing and miss, but not a high enough CSW, too many walks, 4.11 ERA, but a 3.62 xFIP hiding underneath it. Stuff Plus loves the arsenal. So that's why I said up at the top, Taj Bradley can absolutely come out, rip the top off of this game and walk away with 10 strikeouts here and a 6 innings, 10 strikeouts, couple of hits, pitched clean type day. And bend the slate to his will. At 8,700, he is very playable on DraftKings. 9,700, you can absolutely use that on FanDuel as well. The ceiling is very real and comps to any of the best pitchers on this slate, especially against the strikeout team like the Braves. 28% for this projected version of the Braves lineup so far, 23.7% last year, and this is their regular lineup, so I would expect this is who we're going to see. So there's tons and tons of upside for Taj. But he also is that, walking across the tiger trap, and if you step in the wrong spot and the leaves fall out, you're impaled on the sticks at the bottom, and whoever stacked the Braves is looking pretty damn good, laughing at you from the top. Love the power that we're seeing on the Braves. I'm on that side of this equation. When we get teams showing double-digit power for the full lineup in the home run model, especially in that kind of a number for the top 6. I just get enthused. What can I say? Bryce Elder, I think, is going to push some offensive upside toward the Rays. So does Vegas at 4.76. They're one of those teams in that three-way tie in terms of implied runs. I think we avoid Bryce Elder completely. 6,500, 7,500 across sites. There's really not much to talk about with Bryce Elder. Last year, 20.4% Ks with a 6.52 ERA, but a 3.95 xFIP is nice underneath it, but he was allowing a 1.63 whip, not inducing strikes, not really striking anybody out, allowing a ton of power. Year before that, in a more complete sample, just 17.5% strikeouts, 8.5% walks, a 4.50 FIP. It's not a very good pitcher. He's okay at keeping the ball down, keeping it in the yard, which is the only thing keeping guys like Brandon Lau above a 10, Junior Caminero above or below a 10 rather in the home run model. But there's probably a little bit more artificial power here as well. Like the conditions and everything, I think would probably juice it back over for Brandon Lau, Junior Caminero, even against Elder's alleged ability to keep the ball in the yard. So I'm not interested in him. Would roster some Rays bats. Taking a look at the Braves, 4,000, 2,800 is a fantastic price to find Michael Harris. Ignore these 48 plate appearances. You can look at these 461 from last year, but they're not ideal. He was exactly at league average for run creation, a 157 ISO, 16 homers, 10 steals over 461. In and out of the lineup a little bit, hurt a little bit. Over 539 plate appearances 2 years ago when everybody on this team was just better. 293, 331, 477, a 184 ISO, a 115 WRC plus, 18 homers, 20 steals. Kid's just a very good multi-category contributor. Getting shots at the top of the lineup in an effective ballpark could give you a little bit of a lefty pop into those right field seats. 11 in the home run model. Absolutely love Michael Harris for 4,000, 2,800 today. Priority bat if you're stacking Braves. You can also say that about the next 4 guys in this lineup. Ozzie Albies at 44.32. You're getting a ton of value out of these Braves. 1 home run on the board, a slow start, over 53 plate appearances for him, coming off of a down season, his worst season. But this is a star caliber player. This is an all-star second baseman when he's going right. There's power here. There's some speed here. There's a very, very good two-hitter. Love the Albies option at 44.32. Marcell Ozuna for just 46. 3,700 on FanDuel. If you were up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, you got the notification and said, that game's still going on, when Marcell Ozuna hit the 11th inning home run to win the game after a 3-hour rain delay in Atlanta yesterday. Tons of power. He was the only good Brave last year. Off to a good start, over 53 plate appearances with 2 homers on the board, a 211 ISO, 416 xWOBA. Matty Olson, home run pick of the day. Monster lefty power bat playing in this ballpark in these conditions against, again, a pitcher who can make mistakes and just allows fly balls. Olson might strike out several times here. So far this season, he's one of the few Braves who's not striking out, but that's uncharacteristic. He's a 1-in-4 type strikeout guy. That I'm going to take I'm going to take the bat upside going up against Bradley. My hope is that Bradley gets a little popular and keeps this Braves lineup a little under-owned. Austin Riley looks like he's maybe starting to wake up a little bit at the plate. 2 home runs on the board, a 204 ISO, 309 xWOBA, needs some work, 99 WRC plus. Still one of the better hitters in the National League. 4,400 is very cheap at third base. 3,300 is cheap for Austin Riley. He should be several hundred more on FanDuel, and he should be 800 more on DraftKings, 600 more on DraftKings. This is a phenomenal home run hitter and just hitter in general. Sean Murphy, big home run bat at catcher for cheap. 3,500 for Murph is way too cheap on DK where you have to play catchers. 2,800, you can use him as an alternative option on FanDuel. I don't want to replace Matt Olson that many times with Sean Murphy, but I would. If I'm building 30 Brave stacks, I would have a couple that do have Murph and don't have Olson and just use Murphy in the catcher first base spot. And I would have more probably that have both of them. I like that power bat 9.15 for so cheap in this lineup. It helps roster the other guys. Getting Murph and Harris, as cheap as they are, makes this such an easy stack to reach with all this upside in it. You go from there down, you're 4,400 a man for the top 5. If you go, I would want Albies. I'm going to skip Ozuna. So if you just went with those 5, 4,200 a man, and I've got catcher covered, I've got second base covered with fantastic options. First and third taken care of with fantastic options. One outfielder, so now I'm getting shortstop and two outfielders from my secondary stack, which is ideal because I'm probably getting three of their best bats if I'm going to a good team. Really like how that comes together. And they've got three good bats down here. I mentioned Kelenic already, but again, to highlight it, that's a great price for the power potential. Brian De La Cruz at 26.25 is just a good major league hitter. 9.5% barrels, 52.4% hard hits in the small sample, 9.3, 41 last year. 622 plate appearances last year. He hit 21 home runs, 77 WRC plus, not good. 151 ISO, not good. But the 21 home runs is what we're kind of looking for here. You could pick off some right-handed pop for cheap in the outfield. Orlando Arcia at the bottom. We'll see what it looks like this year. It was good a couple seasons ago. He hit 17 oddball home runs. He's very, very cheap. But that said, I'm probably looking for a better shortstop. On the Rays side, it very much is about these three hitters at the top for me. It's Yandy Diaz at 4,000, 2,700. That's just too cheap for this hitter. It's a phenomenal on base, phenomenal table setter, excellent run creator over the past few seasons. Last year, 120 WRC plus with a 341 on base, 14 home runs on the board. The year before, he slashed 330, 410, 522, created runs 64% better than average with 22 home runs. Little dip in power last year, lost a few barrels, lost a little bit of hard hit, but the numbers he put up were still excellent. 48.5% hard hits, 77.6% barrels. Similar start to this season despite the weak results. You just continue going to Yandy Diaz, especially with his price going down. Brandon Lau at 49.31. You definitely sign up for some of that lefty power against Bryce Elder here. 3 home runs on the board. The one thing, again, keeping that suppressed to, below 10 is Elder's ability to induce ground balls. But one mistake, and Brandon Lau's on the board for a home run. 200 ISO to start the year, 139 WRC plus from one of the better power hitting second basemen in the sport. Junior Caminero is just cheap, 4,200, 2,700 for that kid. 282, 310, 410, 304 xWOBA, 111 WRC plus, one home run on the board over 42 plate appearances this year. One of the higher end prospects in all of baseball. Not striking out, not really walking that much, so putting a ton of high quality bat on ball. It's only a matter of time before we see just a red hot 10 days out of this kid, and he's rip roaring and much more expensive. So get him while he's cheap. Jonathan Aranda, Christopher Morel, Cameron Misner, playability through those three. Lefty, righty, lefty for 38, 39, and 3,000. Cheaper on FanDuel. Between the three, Chris Morel's the guy that I would definitely be considering the strongest. 18.8% barrels to start this season. You know that I've been raving about him being in that same group with of fast swingers and fast swing rate. I mentioned Joe Adell as being part of that group yesterday in this ballpark, and he went out and hit us 2 home runs. So there you go. Chris Morel was also in that game. He did not homer that I know of. Hasn't homered yet this year, but he's an interesting bat for 39.25, especially at 25 with 3 positions on FanDuel if you're going to this team. Aranda is a mix and match quality bat. 1 home run on the board. He's out to a great start. 300 ISO, 215 WRC plus. Grab the lefty stick. Again, we're looking to load up on lefties if we stack in this stadium. Misner, Danny Jansen, Jake Magnum, Taylor Walls. We do lose some quality, 7, 8, 9. Danny Jansen's just a mix and match quality catcher. He does have a 4.98 on the board in the home run model. He's playable, but he's not ideal. A lot less playable on FanDuel. Magnum is a quad A player. He stole those 5 bases. He's really not nearly as good as what it looks like he is. We'll see it come back down. 296 xWOBA to start the season. Taylor Walls, 31-23, 143, 273, 143. Pretty weak start to his year. So lose some quality there. Misner's just okay. But I would stack and make plans to use those 6 guys in at least a couple of lineups because it's a healthy total. They do get the bump from the ballpark, and they are facing a weak pitcher just like they're facing a weaker pitcher in this ballpark than the Braves are, and they're actually the favored team. Oh, but that does go Braves bats, Taj Bradley, Rays bats. Don't use Bryce Elder. Henry Siegel likes Chris Morel. Love it. Yeah, again, I showed the board on a show a couple weeks ago or a week ago. Morel is in a tiny little group of guys that surround. It's basically Shohei Ohtani. If you graph it out, Giancarlo Stanton is like all the way up in the top right corner for fastest swing and fast swing rate with the X and the Y axis. And then it's Aaron Judge and a couple of the other obvious suspects. And then there's a little bubble, like a little island, and then everybody else in the league offset further down than that. The guy in the middle of the little island is Shohei Ohtani. And then like three of the guys around it are Jordan Alvarez, Julio Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, somebody else, but superstar caliber guys. And then the three outlier dudes that I was really interested in, and I called this out a few times, were Joe Adell, Matt Chapman, who we know mashes, and Christopher Morel. So just really interesting, just the pure ability to swing the bat, where we differ greatly between those players. And it's also between, Ohtani to Alvarez down to Julio Rodriguez, where you differ greatly with similar speed of swing, similar frequency of high speed swing, is the ability to actually connect with the ball. That's the difference between Joe Adell, Chris Morel, and those superstars. But it does make those guys interesting. Robbie Ray going up against the Yankees. Speaking of interesting, 19.83 for Mr. Judge in the home run model today against Robbie Ray. Kind of interesting. I was tempted to make him the home run pick, just given that monster nearly doubling the magic number that he's putting up here. But I didn't, because I tend not to use the very best of the best, because it just feels cheating and jockey. Robbie Ray's already given up 3 home runs this season, 4 strikeouts in his first game, gave up 2 homers over 5 1/3 at the Reds. You can forgive that a little bit for the ballpark, but kind of not really, because that's who Robbie Ray has always been. 1 home run allowed, just 1 earned on 4 hits against Seattle. That was in San Francisco. 2 strikeouts and 5 walks in that game, though. That is problematic because, again, Robbie Ray is that guy. So far, we're at a 13.6% walk rate. That's bad, Robbie Ray. 11.6% last year, even in, that's only 30 and 2/3, right? I forget where the samples go. His good season, going back all the way to 2022 now, 189 innings. He wrangled his walks down to 8%. He was still rough on fly balls, 4.13% home run rate. There's still some happenstance in that, but this is a guy who had always struggled with home runs. He had always struggled with home runs while struggling with putting too many guys on base via the walk. In a small sample in 2024, he was in an 11.6% walk, 4.65% home runs. This is exactly just who this pitcher is. So do we really want to take that left-handed pitcher and throw him at this Yankees lineup with all this pop in Yankee Stadium? Yeah, the weather's going to be on the pitcher side tonight. Yes, Robbie Ray does have strikeout upside. It's not really apparent right now. 8.9% swinging strikes is not good. Below average by stuff plus is not good. Giving up plenty of premium contact, 21.9% barrels in the tiny sample of batted ball events, and not striking anybody out. But in the small sample last year, he was there for his Ks. 33.3%, 16.2% swinging strikes, a 30.1% CSW in the small sample. So we do know that there are strikeouts in this Yankees lineup. No hiding it. 25.2% strikeout rate so far this season for this projected version, 24.2 last year, 24 plus the year before. Do you want to chase the upside with Robbie Ray? Do you want to chase the upside with Yankees bats? I would tend to come down on the side of Yankees bats, and I'll do this while I say that, just because of the quality in this lineup and the presence of Aaron Judge and his just thunderous right-handed bat. I think Ray is playable, though. 8,000, I think there's tons and tons of upside on the DraftKings slate. If you can use that as an SP2, depending on what you're getting in, your other spots, maybe you're going like mid-price, 2 guys in the 8,000s at pitcher and figuring out your lineups from there. But if you can get Robbie Ray on DraftKings, I think it's all right. At 91 on FanDuel, it's worth throwing a few darts at, just because he could come away with 6 clean innings or 6 relatively light damage innings, let's say, and a handful of strikeouts. But I feel like the baseball gods of it, the numbers of it, the home run model, the projections, everything here is working against Robbie Ray. Everything here is suggesting Yankees. 3 guys above the magic number, another 2 guys hovering right around it, power up and down the lineup, unless your name is Oswald Peraza at the bottom of the lineup, and even he is at a 6.05. It's a shaky spot for Ray. Couple of walks, and these Yankees are pretty good at drawing their walks. 7.8%, but that's because there's a 0 in there. We just do this. We're at 8.8% already. If we cut the top with Paul Goldschmidt, who typically is a little bit better for walks than that, we're at 9.2 for this group of hitters. So several guys pushing 10% walk rates already this season. A lot of those guys were in double digits last year, in varying samples, of course. I'm leaning Yanks. I really am. I hate being a homer about it, but I'm not. The quality's actually there. On the Giants side, we can definitely target Marcus Stroman with some Giants bats. This team is easily good enough to get Marcus Stroman in this ballpark. There are a couple interesting lefties in this lineup if we're looking at that short porch and right. Stroman, a very low strikeout, high contact pitcher who relies on kind of keeping the ball down. 9.9 degree average launch last year, kept home runs to just 2.8%. Stuff Plus doesn't like the arsenal at all. He doesn't induce swinging strikes. Again, no strikeouts to speak of. Too many walks, too many guys on base. 147 whip last year. Year before, he was at a 126 whip, even in a good season where he was striking out 20%. There's just too many walks. He's an ugly, fifth starter of a pitcher. Marcus Stroman didn't have a job a week before the Yankees broke camp. And then Garrett Cole got hurt and Clark Schmidt was going to be out and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden he's our 3-starter. But Stroman's not that good. 6,900, I probably wouldn't use him that much on DraftKings. I think you could mix him into a few SP2 spots. Probably not going there on FanDuel. I just don't think the strikeouts are there. And Boone's got a quick hook. So you're probably dealing with 5 and change. If he goes out for the 6th inning, walks the first hitter, Aaron Boone's going to walk out to the mound regardless of how few pitches he's thrown and take him out of the ballgame. There's just not a lot of upside there. Giants bats against 3,900, 2,500 for Lamont Wade Jr. at the top of the lineup. He's got a home run on the board, but otherwise has been pretty weak. Very, very solid leadoff hitter, though. Fairly low strikeout, very high walk, excellent at getting to first base, setting the table for a guy like Willy Adames, who the big acquisition in the offseason, not really coming through so far after a career year. 184, 241, 224 to start his Giants career at 234 xWOBA, 37 WRC plus. Kind of problematic from Willie to get started here, but a lot of things around him have been effective. Young-Hoo Lee, 333, 375, 533 should probably be hitting second, I would think, or maybe even leading off, but Wade, again, very good at leading off. It's just the issues he's had so far. But Lee is at least coming through. Matt Chapman has 2 home runs on the board and an excellent swing for power. 182 ISO is uncharacteristically low, but still all right for 47-36. He'll get it going for sure for power. 108 WRC plus to start his season. Elliot Ramos, very interesting hitter. 3 home runs on the board this season. 2 stolen bases at 235 ISO. 105 WRC plus. The xWOBA a little bit below average at 285. But you get quality for power. You get quality DFS marks, counting stats, 22 home runs last year in 518 plate appearances. A lot of hard hits, a lot of barrels, 14.5% barrel rate last year, 47.4% hard hits. Mike Yastrzemski taking some pokes at the short porch and right. 2 home runs on the board already this year at 250 ISO. Lefty, just take some bat on ball here and hope for him to elevate the ball and beat out mediocre Marcus Stroman. 13.6% barrel suggests that he could. 10.5 from last year, 9.8 from the year before that suggests that he can elevate the ball against this pitcher. Wilmer, mix and match quality. Patty Bailey, mix and match. Tyler Fitz, an interesting category filler. Off to a relatively slow start over just 36 plate appearances. Was really interesting over 341 last year, though, with 15 homers, 17 steals, and a good slash line. If we're going Yanks, you just grab Aaron Judge and you build around that. That said, 6,500, 4,800, he is almost as expensive as his own pitcher, but he's worth it. 29.4% barrels in his limited batted ball events over 56 plate appearances, 6 homers, a 438 ISO, a 248 WRC plus, a 490 xWOBA. Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. You just play him. If you're going to the Yankees, you can also utilize him as one of the most elite one-offs. You're just paying a lot to do that. Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, a couple of excellent options at the top of the Yankees lineup. Goldie off to a very good start with the bat. 1 home run on the board, a 431 on base. Interesting to find him in the leadoff spot, but it kind of makes sense given his skill set and his ability to set the table for these guys. And he's still got some power in that bat, 10.63 in the home run model. Cody Bellinger off to a weak start in his Yankee career. 1 home run, 2 stolen bases. 0.088 ISO, 291 xWOBA, 61 WRC plus. The lefty needs to get it going. Lefty spot for him, but I would expect him to be in the lineup. Might not hit second, but we're a fairly lefty oriented team. So I don't know that they adjust this all that much. What they ought to do is probably just pile Goldie and Judge right there, 1-2. Judge should just be hitting second. I've talked about that before. Jazz, 57-34. 4 home runs and 4 steals is great for DFS, but he's got to get things going in other departments. We're at 180, 255, 460. 333 xWOBA is nice. 105 WRC plus suggests that we're going to be fine. But we need to get it going. It looks like Jazz and Lamont is so. Fangraphs must have not had the juniors and then added all the juniors, I guess. I'm just realizing that some of those are not filling in. But like, see how they're there on the 24 one? So they must have just changed that to add the juniors back in. That's going to be a giant pain in the ass. All right. Anthony Volpe. 4 home runs on the board for him. One of the torpedo bat kings of the first week or two of the season. 5,000 at shortstop on DraftKings is a little bit pricey for Anthony Volpe. I'm going to be honest. 3,200 on FanDuel, a little bit more playable. It's a 234, 321, 553 line with a 359 xWOBA, but the numbers are on his side. He has been good to start the year. Last year, in the long term, 12 home runs, 28 stolen bases with a 243, 293, 364. A lot of strikeouts. Is it possible that he's just made some strides? Is it possible that the bat actually does help him out? Sure. 17.6% barrels and 47.1% hard hits, up from 3.9 and 34.9. I'm suggesting to you that that's probably just some small sample stuff coming through. I don't think he's worth 5,000 right now on DraftKings, especially not against a strikeout pitcher. Austin Wells, if we get him mix and match quality, 44, 2,700, 2 home runs on the board against a lot of other pitchers, and against righties, I would typically be more enthused about Wells at those prices. I do think it's a good bat. He does have an 8.10 in the home run model. Not the ideal spot, maybe. Jason Dominguez, not a great start for him. 1 home run, 1 stolen base. We liked him, that start he had over, 8 games 2 years ago before he got hurt. Would have rather had that start for this season, but very talented kid, 42, 27, easy to roster in the outfield. Trent Grisham, mix and match, despite the numbers over 34 plate appearances. At best, Trent Grisham is a mix and match piece. 3 home runs, a 333 ISO that will not hold, 12.5% barrels, 54.2% hard hits. That said, he does barrel the ball a decent amount of the time in his limited opportunities, and he's getting a little bit more playing time right now. 35-26 across sites is cheap. Ozzy Peraza at one point was one of the higher end prospects in the Yankees system and just kind of fell off. He was barely clinging to a job. They brought Pablo Reyes in out of camp to take third base away from him to start the season. He's had an okay start over 14 plate appearances, 1 home run, 286, 286, 643 with a 288. xWOBA is not great. No real opportunities last year. The year before, he really struggled as a very young player getting a chance. So we just need consistent plate appearances to actually see what this kid is. But I'm not saying there's no talent there. 605 in the home run model. The model likes it a little bit for a cheap price. 3 positions for 22 on FanDuel in a lineup that we definitely want to consider today. I don't mind him as a wraparound piece. I don't mind him as just a cheap spot filler. Yankees bats, Giants bats, Robbie Ray, no Marcus Stroman for me. Maybe a few shares on DraftKings as an SP2. Metro Boom 808 loves the Giants today. Yeah, very playable team. The one thing you got to get through is just Stroman ground balls. But otherwise, plenty of contact. He's not striking people out. Again, they've got some effective lefties in there. Don't mind the spot at all. With apologies, we're going to kind of just skip over the fact that Eddie Cabrera is making his return to the mound here. I just don't think we're stretched out. 4 innings, faced 18 hitters in AAA in his most recent appearance. Gave up 1 earned, struck out 6, which is a good indicator, good sign. But I think we're maxing out probably 4 innings. Maybe you get him for a 5th inning. But I really think it's thin. In terms of the talent, there are strikeouts there. But he's always been a super high walk pitcher, a lot of problems, and has never really had an opportunity to figure it out at the major league level. You could say 99 and 2/3 2 years ago, 15% walks, 27% strikeouts is great, but too high. No, the home runs were fine that season. Home runs were up in contact, was up a little bit in 96 and a third last year, but still maintained the strikeouts, but too many walks. So short start, a couple of walks early, gets him yanked even quicker. Don't really like it. Don't think he's viable today. Mitchell Parker, though, 7,900, 9,600, very differently priced across sites. At least an option at 79 on the DraftKings slate. Not a great couple of starts here. Last year was moderately effective over 151. He only walked 6.7%. He struck out 20.6, 4.29 ERA with a 4.17 xFIP. He's not a good starter, but he's a moderately priced starter against one of the worst lineups in baseball, one of the most aggressively gettable teams in baseball. So I do think you can use Mitchell Parker. Where I don't know that you use him is at 96 on FanDuel. That's kind of dicey. Even in his good year, his more complete sample last year, you're just looking at 1 in 5 strikeouts. Even if you throw in the fact that the Marlins are free swinging bunch, it's a little tough to see at that price. FanDuel got a little aggressive with that one. First 2 starts, 6 innings in the second one, struck out 2, walked 4, gave up 1 earned on 2 hits. That was against Arizona. 6 1/3 against Philly. He gave up 7 hits, but no runs, struck out 5, walked 2. That was in his first start. If you remember, Mackenzie Gore had the amazing 13 strikeout start. Don't remember if this game was played in the afternoon that day, but that was the series where those shadows were wreaking havoc in day games with lefties on the mound. So just bear that in mind when you think about the fact that he was a pretty good game against the Phillies there. I think he's very average. Makes him playable here against this team. Not so much here. Nationals bats are where you want to look for quality. 4.04 implied total on both sides of this game, but there's a lot more talent in the Nationals lineup, I promise you. CJ Abrams off the top is good. 53-35, 4 home runs already this year, 3 stolen bases, a 377 xWOBA with a 138 WRC plus, a 350 ISO. He's been mashing kind of quietly, 16.1% barrels early. Love it. James Wood has been mashing kind of loudly. 4 home runs for him as well, 2 stolen bases. He's getting on at a 360 clip. He's got a 378 xWOBA, 161 WRC plus. I love the option. 23.1% barrels and 65.4% hard hits in his tiny sample of batted ball events. That jibes with what he was doing last year. I don't think he's going 60 plus and 20 plus all season, but tons of barrels, tons of hard hits. That's what this kid does. 7.6 in the home run model against whatever Eddie Cabrera is going to give us today, and then the bullpen from the Marlins. Yeah, that's interesting to me. The Nats are on the board at worst as a affordable second stack. Maybe it's like a 3-man around Abrams, Wood, your favorite of Keibert Ruiz, Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Bell, Luis Garcia. This is an interesting squad, though. Keibert puts tons of bat on ball. He's right where he's been. 2.9% barrels, 3.2% last year, 5.8 the year before. No strikeouts really, no walks really, just tons of contact. He's turned it into 333, 395, 538 this year with a 205 ISO, a 381 xWOBA, which suggests that, the quality has been fairly real so far. 2 home runs on the board, a 164 WRC plus. With the frequency of bat on ball, there's no reason in the world that he couldn't be an interesting hitter, especially with some BABIP on his side all season. Nathaniel Lowe off to a pretty decent start as far as the power goes, 3 home runs on the board, but 244, 306 on the front end of that triple slash, a little bit underwhelming, a little bit uncharacteristic. He's barreled the ball effectively with a 20%, 56% hard hits early, 344 xWOBA, suggests there's definitely more coming, and a turnaround in that department in the early sample. Josh Bell, 3,000, 2,900, cheap for a 20 home run hitting type guy. 1 home run on the board, a rough start in his line this season. Last year, 19 homers, a 156 ISO, a 101 WRC plus. He's fine. He's not a priority. He's not somebody you really go chase, but if you're stacking this team already, he's perfectly fine. The one issue is that you have 2 first basemen on FanDuel to go back and forth with, and you have the positional conflict on DraftKings. Between the 2, I do prefer Nathaniel Lowe, especially with the start. But it's close. It's not that much separation between the talents. Luis Garcia Jr., great year last year, weak year to start this season over 37 plate appearances. Does have a homer and 2 stolen bases, but a 53 WRC plus, just a 317 xWOBA. It's been a little bit ugly to start, but 9.7% barrels, 41.9% hard hits. If you need an indicator to chase, there it is. Filling second base with him for 35 is not problematic. Alex calls him mix and match type. Paul DeYoung, a little bit of sneaky power upside maybe. Dylan Cruz, been problematic for the number 2 pick behind Paul Skeens. 3,400, 2,700, 128, 171, 128. He was the last regular in the majors to get a hit this year. It's been ugly, but the talent is real. He'll get there. I just feel like I think I talked about this, that maybe it's a situation where they rushed him and it's just like, we'll let him develop it in the show. That costs him a couple of years of what his career numbers look like. Doesn't cost us anything. But the talent's there. He'll catch on. On the Marlins side, if you're rostering them, Xavier Edwards is a priority. 283, 370, 348. Excellent hit tool. Blazing speed. He's got 3 stolen bases already this year. He is getting on base to start the season. But you can see just a 294 xWOBA. There's no real quality of contact here. 20.6% hard hit rate. Not ideal. He's striking out a little bit too much so far, but he's drawing his walks. He's their most interesting player. Otto Lopez, meh. Eric Wagaman, meh. 2 home runs for Lopez. A homer on the board, but Sub Mendoza over 30 plate appearances for Wagaman. Home run on the board for Derek Hill, who I made the home run pick of the day because everybody on this team is below 4.5. So why not? But there's no real quality here. He's also got the highest ISO at 192. Oh, no, there's a 200 hiding down there. Nick Fortes, of course. Who else would it be? Nick Fortes at a 200 ISO. No homers on the board. 300, 333, 500 over 22 plate appearances. Nobody on this team is good. You're just getting cute against a gettable pitcher with a low-owned and extremely cheap group of bad players. If you go to this team, it'll be super anti-optimizer. It'll be, I'm sure, jibe with some shaky sims, but all they are is cheap. There's better quality options to go to. Graham Pauley down the bottom of the lineup hasn't gotten out of the gate well, but he's at least got some prospect pedigree. Javier Sanoa, I don't really know. What's the deal with Sanoa? 22 and change, almost 23. 14th ranked prospect in the Marlins organization last year. 20 grade power. He's a hit tool speed type. 17 stolen bases last year in the minors. Not exactly impressive. I don't think we're getting much out of Sanoa. So Marlins offense, really mostly a stay away. If you're going there, again, grab Xavier Edwards and just your favorite 3 or 4 guys out of that stack. Good luck to you. Mitch Parker's definitely more playable. I would rank this Nationals bats, Mitch Parker, and then really for me, it's no Marlins, no Eddie Cabrera. But Marlins bats have to be above Cabrera because I don't think we're getting much more than 4 innings. Whoops. Red Sox, White Sox. Got to get that. Battle of the Laundry in Chicago. Cold night in Chicago. Right? I got that right. That was what Ross said. By the way, when that Toronto-Baltimore game gets rained out, just let me know. We'll probably get that at this rate during the show. Temp in the low 40s in this one out in Chicago. So just kind of something to be aware of. Not exactly ideal hitting conditions. I mentioned this guy at the top of the show, Chase Meadroth, was called up today. High-end prospect from them, acquired from the Red Sox. Was out to a scorching start in the minors, so just bring him right up, give him the opportunity. On the FanDuel slate at the dead min. If you're going to White Sox, sure. Also, maybe just a sneaky, interesting one-off at that price if you want to burn shortstop for the dead min. I could see it. No guarantees he's hitting down there either. That's just where I stuck him because that's where Jake Amaya was. He might hit up toward the top of the lineup because he's supposed to be good. So we'll keep an eye on that spot. The further up the lineup he goes, the more appealing he gets. I think you guys know that. Sean Newcomb on the mound for the Red Sox. Interesting for them, I guess, is the right word, as they, seek to fill out this rotation overall. 4 innings in his first one, he gave up 4 runs on 8 hits. He struck out 4. He walked 2. Second start, 4 2/3. He gave up just 1 earned, but gave up 6 hits to 23 hitters, struck out 5, walked 3. It's been shaky, and I don't think we're going there today, even against a bad White Sox lineup. But at least at price, at 63, he's worth at least giving some thought to. 75 on FanDuel, I don't think we get the depth to a sixth inning or the ability to chase a quality start. And you can see what the sample sizes over the last several seasons look like. When the hell was the last time we had any kind of sample on Nuke? Nuke is now almost 32. His last relevant innings were in 2018. 164 innings back in 2018. Jeez, it's been a while. 23% strikeouts that season, but an 11.6% walk rate. We do have minor league spots here and there, but even in the minors, you're talking about 2023 combined starts across the minors, 34 1/3, and then 15 more innings in the show.
last season across a couple levels, mostly in AAA, 6 innings, four appearances, 1 start, 6 innings. There's not much to work with here. This was at one time a somewhat interesting strikeout pitcher with a little bit of talent from the left side, but his moment has come and gone. I'm just trying to debate as I'm saying this and just filling airtime with whether or not he'd be worth it at 63 to chase some strikeouts against the White Sox. Probably not. Loaded up with righty bats, at least 1 star in the lineup still with Lou Bob there. 37-28 is excessively cheap for him. That's actually a ridiculous kind of offensive price for him on DraftKings and is not far off that mark on FanDuel. He's out to a terrible start after a down season last year. He only hit 14 home runs. He stole 13 bases, 224, 278, 379 last season. Terrible season. Admittedly, full terrible, and he, honestly, it's not insulting because he earned being priced that low, but he's way more talented. It's insulting to his talent that he's playing at this level, and he's made himself get priced at this level. He's better than that. You can see it in the model 8.71 in the home run model, solidly projected. Andrew Vaughn is probably their next best bat. Maybe they move Maedroth all the way up to like the 2 spot, drop Vaughn down to the 4 and have whoever hitting third. That would be probably a good way to put this lineup together. We'll see what they end up doing. But Vaughn's got a little bit of power. We're talking about like a 20 home run first baseman, 1 on the board this season while slashing 125, 205, 250, 358 xWOBA if you need something to cling to, but a 32 WRC plus so far. Austin Slater is not much of a bat. 1 home run on the board, probably the best numbers on this team so far. 372 xWOBA and a 112 WRC plus. That tells you everything you need to know about where this team's at. Miguel Vargas is entirely skippable, but if you're stacking White Sox and he's hitting cleanup, then sure, go there. There's not much quality here. He's yet to barrel a ball, but he does have a 46.4% hard hit. It's much more likely that he's going to dip back down to these numbers than that he's suddenly hitting the ball hard and that he'll find some barrels along the way. He's not that good. Michael A is one of the more interesting bats on this team, 2,700. There are true barrels and true hard hits here from Michael A. Wildly inconsistent player, but we know that we can pick off those occasional sneaky home runs. So if I'm stacking this team, I'm probably looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm hoping both these guys are further up the lineup. And then there's no good 5th man. That's your problem. Maybe they're a better FanDuel stack. Maybe they're a better 3-man. But at least those 4 guys against this lefty, I think are kind of interesting. They're very cheap. It'll be interesting to see where Maedroth goes on FanDuel. I'm assuming they had him on DraftKings, but maybe they don't, in which case, obviously, you can't get him. Brooks Baldwin, Matt Dace, there's not much quality there. Really rough lineup. The Red Sox, on the other hand, going up against Davis Martin, who has an 8.2% strikeout rate and a nice matching walk rate. 5.81 xFIP over his first 2 starts with a 5.73 ERA. Obviously, it's unfair to throw just 2 starts at him, but he was not good. 7 earned runs on 9 hits in 5 innings to the Tigers in Detroit. 2 home runs allowed, 2 Ks, 2 walks. 2 Ks, 2 walks in his first start against the Angels. He went 6 in that one. He allowed 2 unearned runs on 4 hits. Nothing else. But we're talking about low end in terms of the strikeout quality. We're talking about like a Kyle Hendricks type. Last year, 21.4% Ks, but had a 10.5% walk rate, 4.32 ERA with a 4.57 xFIP. Stuff Plus does like the arsenal. He's got a few effective pitches that grade out pretty well. If memory serves, one of them is his change, is his big weapon, I think. I'll have to look it up next time he starts, but it's what I want to say tickling the back of my brain. But it just hasn't really translated at the major league level, and I don't think rostering him against the White Sox or the Red Sox is the spot to find out, even with some weather on his side. 7,200 also feels like he should definitely be at like 63 like Newcomb is in this spot. So it's just too high for me for an SP2 on DK and no real appeal on FanDuel. Jarren Duran, 53-38. The start has been mix and match. Right around the average xWOBA, 316, 84 WRC plus, not great. 5 stolen bases, but no power showing yet. I think everything comes around and we're perfectly fine with Jarren Duran. We're talking about 67 plate appearances for an excellent lefty bat. Still high priced at 53-38. It doesn't exactly match the production we've gotten so far, but if you look at the barrels, 11.1, 51.1% hard hits, we're not far off the mark. It's only a matter of moments before Jarren Duran's surging as well. Rafi Devers, 1 home run, 278, 375, 426, a 364 xWOBA, 130 WRC plus, 20% barrels and 65.7% hard hits. Rumors of his demise were greatly exaggerated, including by myself over those first 5 games. Alex Bregman, 5,000, 3,300. Love the second base eligibility on DK. You can definitely plug him in over there. Super playable at third on FanDuel, but you got to go, third and util if you're getting him and Devers into the lineup, which is the thing there. That's nice that they don't block the positions on those two on DK. Tristan Casas. You guys know I love the power bat. They're bouncing and they bounce them back up by 100 on DraftKings. Still only one home run on the board. Still only a 106 ISO. Just a 269 xWOBA, 38 WRC plus. We're just chasing premium contact with the lefty bat against a weak high contact righty here. This is another ideal spot to grab some cheap Tristan Casas. 12.5% barrels. Last year it was 13.3. The year before it was 13 plus. 46% hard hits. 45% hard hits. It's a home run hitting lefty for 3,500 against a guy who's soft tossing you up there. It's just there today. You grab that, top four off the lineup. Now you're down to 46 apiece for a lineup that includes Durant, Devers, Bregman, and Casas. And then take your favorite guy out of Trevor Story, Kristen Campbell, Willie Abreu, who's a terrific bat. Ceddanne Rafaela and Carlos Narvaez are interesting enough to play down lineup, even though they're both off to slow starts and both both sub-average contributors. They can get involved, especially Ceddanne Rafaela, as we've highlighted a bunch of times for counting stats. But these are three high-quality bats. If these three guys were on this team, they'd be hitting right here. Trevor Story, I believe, walked it off yesterday. 2 home runs on the board, 4 stolen bases, 273 xWOBA, not great, 93 WRC plus, not great. But I still believe in the talent, as I've been harping on. 50% hard hits to start his season. A lot of Ks in there. Hasn't really walked that much. At least the walks I expect will come around just as he gets into his season. 41.29, very effectively priced in the heart of the Red Sox lineup. Christian Campbell, their hot rookie, 4,200, 3,000, 318, 426, 545 to start his career. 227 ISO with 2 home runs and a stolen base. A 366 xWOBA is third on the team. Willie Abreu with a 449 xWOBA is creating runs 112% better than average so far. 300 ISO, 3 home runs, 350, 480, 650. Willier's been absolutely smoking the ball so far. It's going to slow down at some point, but he's not really crazy priced up. 48, 33. Wasn't Volpe 5,000? Willie Abreu's off to a better start than Anthony Volpe. Take the advantage. Red Sox bats, nothing else. If you're going to the White Sox, there's loose playability there. It's Lou Bob, it's Andrew Vaughn, it's Michael Taylor, and it's Chase Meadroth, and mix and match your way to the 5th spot. But they're pretty light. 363 implied total tells you a lot, especially against Sean Newcomb. Right? We're not dealing with exactly Chris Sale on the mound here. So this is just a bad team. This is a good team. Neither pitcher. We have to pick up the pace a little bit. What's going on, Tall to God? Let's go. Had a couple people take down some wins last night. Nothing crazy. I don't think there was another 20K winner, but congrats again to Logan Grew out there, who's been taking stuff down all week long. Logan's had himself like a $40-something thousand week between baseball and basketball. I know DNA doubled his money last night, he said. After we chatted about optimizers the other night, he was looking for a new optimizer product. If you're looking, acemind.io, optimizer and sim tools. Check those guys out. Rotoscouts, all in caps, gets you 20% off your first month over at acemind.io. But yeah, congrats to any recent winners. When you guys take something down, share the screenshots in Discord. Let me drop a link into Discord if I can. Discord's free to all. Always free all the time. Not a subscriber thing. So hop into Discord and at least come hang out with us and see all the stuff that gets talked about in there. I'm sure pick up some tips and everything in there every day. If you check out rotoscouts.com, subscriptions under $1 a day gets you baseball, basketball, hockey, every main slate guaranteed. Every time there's a good early slate up, I've been covering it for baseball lately. No promises there. The product is the main slates, but you get a lot. Trying to keep it as lightly priced as possible. People out there, I've talked about it a ton of times. People out there not spending $1,000+ on their lineups every night don't need to be spending hundreds of dollars a month on their projection sites. Don't need to be spending multiple sport packages, to get, I pay $100 for baseball and I pay $150 for basketball and so on. Under $1 a day gets you all of it over here. rotoscouts.com. Give it a look. Tigers, Twins, David Festa. Really interesting option at 65 on DraftKings. I'll play him at 72 on FanDuel. There is a lot of talent here. He's going up against the Tigers lineup that's got plenty of Ks on deck for him. But they do draw their walks. They do have threatening hitters. They are a good club playoff team from last year after that crazy run they went on in the second half. So I don't want to discount the spot too much. But Festa came up last year, made 13 starts, 64 and a third, 27.8% strikeout rate, a 4.90 ERA, but a 3.58 xFIP underneath it. This is the truth. 12.8% swinging strike rate. For a kid just making his first 13 starts, he was very sharp. 325 home runs, 100 on the nose by Stuff Plus. That was up during the spring. He was looking really good during spring. Didn't break camp with the team. Went down, made two starts in the minors. One against Cleveland's AAA affiliate, just 3 and a third in his most recent outing, gave up 5 earned on 10 hits, gave up a homer, struck out 4. Not a great outing there, not something to bolster your confidence there. Against Pittsburgh's AAA team, he shut them out over 5 innings, 3 hits allowed, struck out 4 in that one, didn't walk anybody. Obviously no runs. So one good, one bad in AAA, but it's just about getting work in. For a pitcher who was at this level, who probably deserved to make the team out of camp, it was just about getting work in. No concerns about giving up AAA runs. With a 25.5% strikeout rate staring us in the face so far this year from this opponent, a 27% strikeout rate from this projected lineup last year, even if there's a little bit of danger of a couple of runs getting scored, I like the upside for Festa. He's got them checked down under a 4 implied total. Tells us a lot about this spot. So 6,500, they did you a favor with that price on DraftKings. That's an absolute bargain. 72 is very, very low for a FanDuel pitcher too. Again, I will use this pitcher, and I think we've got the ability to get 5+. We could probably get to the quality start if all goes well. I don't think he's going to be all that limited. It is a situation though, kid coming up, making his first start of this season. You could see, all right, kid, 5 innings, clean, good start, go sit down, hit the showers. You could see it, but he's probably had a good game if that's happened. So we're probably still okay at these prices. On the other side, there's a little bit more meat on the bone as far as Reese Olson. 22 starts last year, 112 and a third, 21.7% Ks, 3.53 ERA with a 3.72 xFIP. You can see one of those guys who Stuff Plus doesn't really like the arsenal, but he kind of makes it work. We do see guys like that from time to time who are able to find their swinging strikes. 12.7% swinging strike rate last year, despite Stuff Plus not really measuring out great. Those are the guys where it's more a little bit about the mix. It's more a little bit about like the tunneling of the pitches and how the pitches work well off of one another and how they call the game rather than actually the physics of the pitches, which is kind of what Stuff Plus captures. So Olson can defy that, but his Stuff Plus numbers were up so far in spring. In his first 2 starts, they were up significantly. That's an 11 point bump by Stuff Plus. We'll see if it holds, but it's a nice indicator. 22% strikeouts over his first 2. 2 years ago, he had a 24.4. He's probably around like a 22% strikeout rate pitcher in a full season. First start of the year, 4 2/3, gave up 4 earned, struck out 5, walked 2, gave up a homer. That was against the Dodgers at LA, though. You can kind of forgive that. Faced the White Sox in the next one. I think we talked about him that day. He went 6, gave up 2 earned, but allowed 7 hits, walked 3, struck out 5. It's kind of a mediocre outing. We can do better. I think this is a good spot for him to be able to do better. Going up against the Twins lineup that's got some strikeouts in it. 23.5 for this lineup last year, just 21.5 so far this year. As a tiebreak, 24.2 for the same group of guys 2 years ago. So figure something between 1 and 4, 1 and 5 strikeouts available for him. He's probably around that level himself. So we're probably looking at, strikeout an inning, maybe a little less than that. But a 5 strikeout game is on board for 7,100. That's a good option. 88 on FanDuel. We need that 6th inning. We need that quality start at that price, but he's on the board. One of the better projected pitchers from the mid-range. The Twins, a little bit of a threatening lineup, though. You can see he's cutting their power down a little bit. What was his home run mark last year? 2.22 so far this year. Yeah, just 1.51 last year. Year before, 3.32. Some happenstance in there. A lot more barrels that year. Big improvement in cut launch angle year over year pretty significantly. Cut barrels pretty significantly year over year. That's where those home runs went. Exit velo hard hits were exactly the same. Gonna go look at what the specific change was there. That's probably a Arsenal change. How he's utilizing what one specific pitch, or it's a new pitch in that mix to suddenly cut that down so much. That's a nice improvement, and that's cutting down the home run marks a little bit for a guy like Matt Wallner at 6.98. We see him over the 10 spot or around the 10 spot a lot. Hit a big one the other day, 220 ISO, 376 xWOBA to start the season, a 157 WRC plus, 14.8% barrels. Matt Wallner is a true power bat from the left side up at the top of this lineup. He can also get on base. I've been referring to him as like a Kyle Schwarber light, and that's the kind of player he is. That's the archetype. Whether he becomes Kyle Schwarber remains to be seen, but that's the archetype. Willie Castro, 38-28, multi-position eligible on both sites, 4 positions on FanDuel is great. 1 home run, 1 steal. We get mid-teens on both categories. He's a spot filler for a fair price at worst. Carlos Correa for just 3,900, 3,200 is way more than that, though. Hits the ball very, very hard. Very good player still. Low strikeout, high walk. I don't care about these 51 plate appearances at 149, 216, 234. We're going back up the ladder. 300 xWOBA so far is not a great indicator for that either. Neither is his 32 WRC+. We're just ignoring it for now. We're just going to focus on what the quality over the years has been and not sweat it. He is cheap for his talent. Trevor Larnach at 34-27 against again, Reese Olson, good righty, but also gettable. The power is what is probably going to be the big question. If they get him for a big knock, and Trevor Larnach would be on that list of guys, lefty bat 4.78 in the home run model, that's going to swing the day for Olson or for the Twins lineup. Ty France hit one yesterday after I called him a line drives only type guy. He's got 2 on the board this season. 410 xWOBA is encouraging out of him. He's making some pretty good contact, and that's really who he is. He's a doubles hitter more than anything. But if he's doing that, and we're getting a little bit of pop out of him, he becomes an instantly more interesting hitter. 26-33, I don't want to get excited about it yet because he's mediocre, but he's not expensive, so you can get some quality there. He's more on the board maybe than I was leading you to believe in previous shows. Jose Miranda is essentially the same guy at third base, 32-26 across the board, perfectly fine. Edward Julian, you get a little bit of cheap premium contact, but infrequent premium contact, which is why he's cheap. Harrison Bader, Christian Vasquez, just mix and match types. If we're looking at the Tigers against Festa, I do think you can go there. They're drawing a 3.92 implied total, which isn't great, but it's not nothing. It's not, low threes like some of the other lousy teams on the board. And this is a good quality group of hitters, especially like right through here. Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Colt Keith for a 4-player average of 37.50 on DraftKings. It's a different proposition on FanDuel. Well, not that much. 29, under 3 on FanDuel because Colt Keith is super cheap. The only guy who's expensive or even appropriately priced is Riley Green, and he's even cheap on DK at 44. Riley Green is a $5,000 player. 10% barrels, 46.7% hard hits this year, 13.4, 46.2 last year, slashing 286, 300, 551 so far this season with a 145 WRC plus, 3 homers on the board. The xWOB is below average. It's not great as an underlying indicator there, but he was a solid hitter through all of last season. 217 ISO, a 135 WRC plus, 24 homers over 584 plate appearances. Until further notice, Riley Green is cheap at 44. 34 on FanDuel is more correct. Kerry Carpenter, a true lefty power bat. 4 home runs on the board already. A 351 ISO, a 414 xWOB was tremendous. 20% barrels and 50% hard hits so far this year. This is a guy who last year 16.9% barrels, 45.1% hard hits. This is a true power bat. 9.30 on the home run model. He's the home run pick from the Tigers today. Really like that option. Torkelson, 3 homers. Good triple slash numbers to start the year. Maybe it's just going to be 1 year on, 1 year off throughout his entire career. This would be one of the good years if that's the case. I just think it's a matter of talent eventually catching on and taking over. 13.8% barrels, 55.2% hard hits. Looks a lot like the 23 version. Colt Keith hasn't gotten there at the major league level yet, really. 47 plate appearances of ugliness so far this year. Last year was just mediocre as a big prospect for them. 556 plate appearances, a full season. 260, 309, 380 was 3% worse than average creating runs. Didn't hit for the expected power, just 13 homers. And more critically, just a 120 ISO. Mediocre contact numbers at 5.6 and 35% barrels and hard hits. So one to watch as far as what that development trajectory ends up being. But a talented kid who was very high end coming up through the minors and a very highly regarded prospect. Zach McKinstry, Dylan Dingler, Trey Sweeney, and the corpse of Avi Baez at the bottom of the lineup. Mix and match pieces all. I do know that Avi is out to an okay start over his 29 plate appearances. Yes, 321, 345, 393. Keep it up. I don't hate the guy. He's just been a complete waste of time for all things baseball in Detroit over the last couple of seasons, and he's making like $400 million to do it. Baez is in the fourth year of a 6-year, $25 million a year contract. No shocker, he did not opt out of it last season. You want to make 25 mil for the next 3 years and stay in Detroit, or do you want to go make the league minimum somewhere, or maybe not play anymore? Just kind of unfortunately taking up a spot, because it does kind of hamper this team's ability to really go get a good free agent or make big splashes as far as the the deadlines and stuff go. It's an anchor for this young team, which is a shame. Larry C pointing out Yankees lineup: Goldie, Rice, Judge, Cody, Volpe, Jazzy. Interesting. Was not expecting Benji Rice in there. Ben Rice has been ripping the ball early in the season. I just wasn't necessarily expecting him lefty-lefty here against Robbie Ray. But yeah, to that point, Goldie, Rice, Judge, Belly, Volpe, Jazz hitting 6th, Wells in the lineup 7, Ozzy Peraza hitting 8th, and then Trent Grisham moving down to 9th. So same group of players, other than who the hell was in that we had that is not in? I'm not landing on it. Dominguez is out of the lineup. That kind of makes sense. He's a better hitter from the left side, so you wouldn't necessarily throw him up against Robbie Ray. Otherwise, it was the same guy. So Ben Rice in for Jason Dominguez, basically. All right, we talked Tigers lineup. We talked about both these pitchers. So this one's gonna go. I guess, put Reese Olson on top. So what it really is Reese Olson projection, David Festa value, Reese Olson value, right? They're all just like right there, but they're slightly different. And it's also a site to site thing, but they're both very, very playable. Excellent pricing on DraftKings, fair price on Olson on FanDuel, excellent price on Festa on FanDuel. Then it's Twins bats slightly over Tigers bats, but both sides of that are playable. I just do think this Twins lineup a little bit deeper, a little bit more proven. Last night's Mashers, the Angels. Let's other confirmed lineups. Tampa Bay looks roughly similar. Chris Morel hitting 5, Aranda hitting 4. Yeah, that's basically what we had. Marlins, basically exactly the same, except Liam Hicks is catching again instead of Nick Fortes. We haven't gotten to the cards yet, but that one's in. This lineup not here yet. Jack Chanowitz on the bump for the Angels. Ronel Blanco going for the Astros. I'm firmly on record as not being a big Ronel Blanco guy. There are strikeouts there, 26.5 over his 6 2/3 in 2 starts so far this season. But the results so far this year have kind of borne out that he's not that great a pitcher. 9.45 ERA and a 4.46 xFIP is no big improvement underneath it. Critically, a 17.6% walk rate against his 26.5. Obviously, we're being a little facetious over 6 2/3. Last season in 167 1/3, 24.6% Ks, 10.1% walks. Had a 2.80 ERA, sparkling ERA, but a 4.09 xFIP. That's the real number. 109 whip. He got very lucky with batting average on balls in play. 12.9% swinging. I'm not saying he can't induce swinging strikes. I'm not saying that he's not a 1-in-4 strikeout pitcher. I am saying that he walks too many. I am saying that he's going to put too many guys on base to sustain quality. He gives up a little bit of power. Doesn't have great stuff to pitch his way out of jams. 87.86 in the first 2 games by Stuff Plus this year. 93.67 in a full sample last year. Threw a no-hitter last year. That's where everybody fell in love with him early. Had some good starts, but overall, is a mediocre pitcher. He's very much middle of the board with a little bit of strikeout ability. Going up against this Angels team that all of a sudden, we're looking at a 9-man lineup with 24 home runs on the board already. Who told you day one that this Angels team was going to be better? Yeah, we're 2 weeks into the season. We're not actually saying that they're better, but it's a nice start for that point. Obviously, a bunch of these home runs came last night, but Mike Trout up to 5. I think he's got a handful in his last couple of games, if I'm remembering correctly. Something they said earlier. More importantly than that, 364 ISO, 439 xWOBA for Trout out of the gate, 141 WRC plus. Please just give us one good year of health for Mike Trout. I want 600 plate appearances for Mike Trout this year. I really do. I tried my hardest to acquire him in the Dynasty League this offseason. Couldn't get it done. Taylor Ward, 43-33. He's got 3 home runs on the board, 2 of which came last night. Good table setter up at the top with some realistic power. 334 xWOBA to start the season. Not bad. Luis Rengifo is a mix and match type guy that we're looking to get on base, set the table, do some running. He'll hit the occasional home run. Only came away with low single digits last year, but was in the mid-teens 2 years back. Jorge Soler, 3 home runs on the board now. 250 ISO, 340 xWOBA to start the season with a 117 WRC plus. Still cheap at 44,300, 11.08 in today's home run model. 21.4% barrels and 50% hard hits is all we need to see from Jorge Soler. If he keeps doing that, the 30 home runs will be there. Logan O'Hoppe, 5 home runs on the board. Monster power. 410 ISO so far, a 435 xWOBA with a 230 WRC plus, 26.9% barrels, 57.7% hard hits, rivaling Aaron Judge's absurd contact numbers so far this season. Nolan Shanuel, mix and match quality with some very, very good on-base skills. Probably should be hitting up toward the top of the lineup. I would probably rather have him second than Luis Rengifo up there and move Rengifo down maybe into, honestly, in the 9 spot where he could act as a wraparound type guy would be kind of interesting. Because Shanuel's skill set really, truly is avoiding the strikeout, drawing some walks, getting on base. Lefty stick with some quality, though. He's very playable for cheap prices at first base. Kyron Paris has set the world on fire to start the season. 5 home runs, 4 stolen bases, a 476 xWOBA, a 313 WRC plus. He's been ridiculous over 34 plate appearances. It's probably going to cool off pretty dramatically in the coming weeks. But at 33 on DraftKings, very, very cheap. At the same 33 on FanDuel, he's kind of expensive for what his actual talent is. Shortstop second and outfield eligible is nice, though. You catch the wave while it's rolling, and you're all right. The true talent, bottom of the lineup, though, Joe Adell. I mentioned before the island of hitters with that swing, that special, super fast, super frequently fast swing. Joe Adell's one of those guys. 2 home runs last night to back me up on that point. 226 ISO. More importantly, maybe a 406 xWOBA to start the season over his first 34. Joe Adell is a name to watch. I've highlighted a few times already this year, and I'm going to go back to it. Gets no credit whatsoever for last year because he went 207, 280, 402. He was 10% worse than average for run creation in the end. But he did hit 20 home runs and stole 15 bases in 451 opportunities. That is, in the raw sense, in the counting stat sense, a good player. And when he's got a swing like he does, and we're talking about frequency of contact rather than quality of contact, absolutely going to continue to be a cheap, interesting option from the bottom of the lineup until he really heats up or just dies on the vine completely and we stop going there. But right now, I'm on the side of really heating up. Sorry, Dylan. I had the bat over here and I just banged it on the floor and woke the dog up again. Astros line up against Jack Kachanowicz. You can definitely go here. Kachanowicz, first start of the season went 6, allowed 2 earned to the White Sox, 4 strikeouts, no walks. Second start went 5, allowed 2 earned, 3 runs total on 4 hits to Cleveland, struck out 4, walked 3, 2 homers allowed a homer to the White Sox. Fire away with Astros bats. There's way too much quality in the Astros lineup. The second highest implied total of the day. I'm sure they're going to get popular. Kachanowicz, not much of a pitcher. You're not using him on either one of these sites. Even at 68 on DraftKings, he's not a viable SP2. Jose Altuve, 5,200, 3,600 though. Great start to his year. The X-Wob is a little ugly at 250, but everything else is kind of in defiance of that. 346, 393, 519 with a 166 WRC plus, 3 homers, 3 steals on the board. I'll take it. Isaac Paredes yet to homer. We are keeping an eye on that, but we're in the home ballpark today. So 3,600, 2,900, just cheap pokes at those left field seats, and that's what you got to hope for. 56.39 for Jordan Alvarez is cheap against this pitcher. He should be, well, I shouldn't have emphasized cheap that strongly. It's just that he should be over 4,000 on FanDuel. It's just that he should be in the higher fives on DraftKings. This is a killer spot for Jordan Alvarez to really get it going. 18.8% barrels so far this year. He's got 1 home run on the board, 381 xWOBA, 75 WRC plus. Hasn't hit his stride for the season by any stretch of the imagination. This could be the day to get it going. 42.31 for Christian Walker. You could say all those same things about Christian Walker. He has not gotten his season in gear yet, but 13.3% barrels and 56.7% hard hits is right where we want him. The power will come. The quality will come. The runs will come. If you just keep rostering. If you roster him, it will come. Get a little field of dreams in there. Jeremy Pena, 36, 3,000 is a mix and match quality shortstop at the absolute best. Very, very average player. 2 home runs, 4 steals on the board, 85 WRC plus. That said, you can use him. The positive indicator right now, 11.4% barrels, 57.1% hard hits in the small sample. Despite not hitting that many home runs or really creating runs all that well at all or really having very good ISOs at all, look how well a lot of these Astros are actually striking the ball when they make contact. You're just getting a lot of atom balls. You're getting a lot of weird happenstance here with these numbers. But as long as you're making contact like this, especially with guys who make contact as frequently as many of these guys do in the long term, this is going to come around, and it's going to come around fast. Brendan Rodgers is a mix and match quality option. He's actually off to an okay start, 327 xWOBA with a 104 WRC plus. Just mix and match, though. He's very cheap at second base, but you're probably just putting Jose Altuve if you're using it and keeping your outfield spots open for other guys. Jainer Diaz is off to a terrible start this year after I called him one of the best hit tool players in all of baseball, not even at the catcher position, but just all of baseball or something like that. 0.061, 139, 0.061 to start the year with a 0 ISO and a negative 38 WRC plus. I promise it's going to turn around. I have enough faith that I'm still promising that it's going to turn around. Kid's too good to struggle for much longer. So we're going to rock it back upward, and he's going to finish the season with a 280 plus batting average and something like 18 to 25 home runs. Jake Myers, Cam Smith are mix and match options. Cam Smith hasn't done anything since breaking camp with the team. Had a hot spring, but that's about it. Jake Myers, he's all right. He gets on base. He can steal you a bag. The occasional pop, but not much. Astros bats. Angels bats. Ronald Blanco in a pinch. No Jack Janowitz. I'm dreading this basketball slate that I got to project after this show. I at least went in and set up the games and everything, so now I just got to go in and do all the minutes and catch up on all the injuries, but there's something like 11 games on, I think it's 11 and 10, or maybe it's 9 and 10 across sites. DraftKings dropped the 9:30. They kept the 9 o'clock games and dropped the 9:30. FanDuel went with everything. It's going to be a mess. That's why I'm going to try and keep pace a little bit and keep us rolling here so that I can get off of this show and get that up on the website at some point. Henry Siegel likes the value on Rodgers. Yeah, and again, there is enough talent there that at that price, he's perfectly fine. And if you're going to that squad, so much the better. There are barrels and hard hits so far this season, 43.8% hard hits last year, 11% barrels, 40.2% hard hits a couple years ago. What we really haven't seen out of Rodgers is consistency and a consistent ability to stay on the field. Like that 2023 season was pretty lost with just 192 plate appearances. He was only okay in that stretch. 581 the year before that, he hit 13 home runs, but a 92 WRC plus, a low end 142 ISO. Last year, over 539, he came back to kind of similar numbers to 2022 with 13 homers and 88 ISO, or an 88 WRC plus, a 140 ISO. There is talent there. Some of it, once upon a time, bolstered maybe a little bit by Coors Field. That's why it's kind of just in the wash right now. But I agree, at 27, at 25, if you're just filling second base, it's fine. But what I said kind of stands. If I'm going to the Astros, I'm probably just using Altuve at second, and then taking a higher end outfielder overall from another team. And I think Altuve is one of the top options to fill second base from any team. So that's probably how I angle it. But yeah, you're in no way wrong that Rogers is a good value for just the quality of contact alone at those prices. I mentioned the Phillies early. 385 implied total for the Phils. You can see the low home run marks. Everything Andre Pallante is accounted for here, but they still project out kind of well. That total, the sum of their projections for this full 9-man lineup, was one of the better marks, despite the low run total. Pallante's okay. 18.5% strikeouts last year, a 3.78 ERA with a 3.89 xFIP. Just that alone, we're talking about right on the mark for what that implied total is as far as what he allows. And this Phillies lineup is one of the better lineups in baseball. It should swing the other way, in my opinion. We should be over a 4-run total on the Phillies side. There's plenty of contact available here. There's too many walks. There's too many opportunities via base runners. There are no swinging strikes or CSW to speak of whatsoever. All Pallante does is induce ground balls. A 1.1 degree average launch, 3.3% barrels, just a 1.57 mark by 1.57% home run rate allowed last year. This year, he's allowed a couple homers already, despite a negative 3.1 degree average launch. 2 years ago, by the way, as a reliever in 68 innings, a negative 11.5 degree average launch. Pretty stellar. First 2 starts for Pallante, home run allowed in each game, 4 1/3 against the Red Sox, 2 earned on 4 hits, 6 strikeouts. The strikeouts are uncharacteristic, but otherwise that's a Pallante-esque start. 2 earned runs on 4 hits allowed to the Twins over 5 innings, a home run allowed, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's a more Pallante-esque strikeout as far as the Ks and the walks go. And then typically you get another run or 2 on top of that. So I think there's a little bit more meat on the bone than Vegas might have us believe for the Phillies. Taking the home runs out of the equation is problematic, or somewhat taking them out. But if Pallante makes a mistake, Schwarbs is going to capitalize. Harper's going to capitalize. There are several true, mid-20s type or mid-teens to 20 type home run bats in this lineup with Nicky Castellanos, Max Kepler, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh. So there's plenty of home run bats here that can just do the work for us. And there's just too much quality. Look at 12.3% on walk rate so far for this group this season. Aggressively good ability to get on base against a pitcher who puts too many people on base. So unless we're just getting double play after double play, he's not going to be able to make that happen every single time. To me, this looks like a not crazy upside spot for the Phils that we go chase. But at worst, I think you could draw some shares of probably a fairly low-owned Philly squad with a good amount of upside for fair prices. The Cards bats, not a priority at all going up against Aaron Nola, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Nola, 6.35 ERA so far, but a 3.74 xFIP underneath it. He's only walked 2.1%, hasn't really struck anybody out in his first 2 starts. Just 2 Ks last time. Actually, the first start was fine. 8 strikeouts in that game. He gave up 5 earned on 6 hits. That was to the Nationals. Second start was against the Dodgers. 2 home runs allowed in both outings. That will correct itself over the course of the season. 3 earned to the Dodgers on 7 hits. Struck out just 2, walk 1, but the Dodgers relatively low strikeout. This is probably the day we see Aaron Nola's season really get in gear. 9,000. He's a little discounted on DraftKings. 95 on FanDuel. Perfectly playable. This Cardinals team is meh. They're very mediocre. What's Arenado at? I feel like it's been a minute since we've talked cards. Yeah, so, all right. Talked about Nolan Arenado and his broken swing throughout all of last year, and it was super problematic all of last year. He hit a home run and he hit a couple doubles in the first 2 weeks of the season, and everybody was saying, swing. He worked on his swing speed during the offseason, blah, blah, blah. And it looks okay over 50 plate appearances at 310, 420, 452. That looks great. 140 WRC plus looks great. The xWOBA is significantly below average. That suggests that a lot of this has not actually truly been real. 143 ISO kind of backs that up. 2.6% barrels, 25.6% hard hits definitely backs that up. This is a very different hitter than he used to be. These numbers are going to crater for Nolan Arenado. Mark my words. 45, 3,000. He's playable here, but not really against Aaron Nola. Why do you want to go to Cards against Aaron Nola? Wilson Contreras could be a reason why. 39.27. I prefer him as just a catcher one-off for those prices if I'm going there, and he's not even a catcher anymore on DK. So you can't even do that. Pedro Pajes down lineup as a catcher? No thanks. This is really thin. Lars Nootbaar is a good player, good stat filler. 271, 386, 417 to start the year, 384 xWOBA with a 130 WRC plus. Good numbers to start the year. Fair amount of hard hits and barrels over the last 2 seasons. Low strikeout, medium walk. But he can't do it all himself up against, again, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Really don't like the looks of the cards. They are cheap. You could go that for $4,100 a piece. But they're just cheap. 373 implied total is not ideal. Jordan Walker, I do think, is a kid with some talent. 282, 378, 359. Just a 296 xWOBA is something to watch. 118 WRC plus, though. Homer, 2 steals on the board so far. We've talked about this kid a lot. Got an unfair shake, in my opinion, as far as what he actually did 2 years ago, going into last year with some struggles. Kid's got talent. Give him some time. Very, very cheap. 40.7% hard hits. You can see the barrels in the hard hits from last year and the year before. Victor Scott is just fast. 286, 354, 452, 127 WRC plus so far. That's fine, but all he is speedy. So he needs base hit and then a stolen base and then something to happen to give you any kind of shot at fantasy points. If we're rostering fills, we're looking off the top with Kyle Schwarber, 7.54 in the home run model for 58.44. You just pay it. He's got 6 already this season. He's got a 457 ISO, a 498 xWOBA. Just one of the best 3 true outcomes hitters in all of baseball. 20.6% barrel, 61.8% hard hits. Trey Turner is a superstar caliber shortstop. Right now, the numbers are all right. Just 289 xWOBA. He's creating runs 24% better than average. A homer, 4 stolen bases. The average in the on base is there. The average needs to come up some for Trey Turner to really pay off these salaries, but he's fine, and it's not inappropriate to have him priced like that. Bryce Harper, 51.39, tons of upside, 267, 400, 444, 376 xWOBA suggests there's more to come. 2 home runs on the board, 2 steals. And then it's Castellanos. Again, it's Castellanos, Kepler, Real Muto, and Alec Boehm is a quality 4-man in and of itself from a lot of teams. If that was a 4-man from like the Twins, you'd be like, oh, that's a really good group of hitters on the Minnesota Twins. It's just that they're overshadowed by Schwarbs, Turner, Harper up at the top. But those are 4 effective bats for quality prices. Casty gives you right-handed power. Kepler gives it to you from the left side. Real Muto is a very high-quality catcher with plenty of quality bat on ball left. Some upside for steals again on the board. 4 stolen bases already this year. He wasn't running as much last year. He only stole 2 all of last year. Year before, he had 16. So we're back toward that trajectory. Maybe he's feeling better this year. I like that upside for only 41 where you have to play catchers. 48% hard hits this year. Alec Boehm, tremendous bat on ball. So far this season, it's resulted in 160, 176, 180. I promise it's going to come around. He's not going to be a -1 WRC plus player all season. 50% hard hits so far this year to back me up. Low strikeout, low walk rate, tons of premium contact available. Bryson Stott, mix and match quality second baseman with some speed, and then Brandon Marsh gets on a ton from the bottom of the lineup in most seasons. Not so far this year, but he's an ideal wraparound piece for cheap in the outfield, back up to the top of the Phillies as usual. 9-man lineup for the Phils if this is what we get. Aaron Nola, Phillies bats, Cardinals bats. Probably not use Andre Palante. If he was in the 6s, we could maybe have a conversation about clean innings on DraftKings. At 74, I don't think it's worth it. Where's that truly great out? All the way down here with multiple more viable options going up the board. And again, that one staring us in the face. That one kind of staring us in the face. On opposite sides of the same game, of course. Not seeing it for Palante, but the idea of 6 clean innings with very limited strikeouts is certainly there. It's not crazy to expect that. Rockies on the road against a righty is pushing Nick Pivetta to unusual places on the pitching board. I'm not used to necessarily seeing Mr. Pivetta number 2 on a 13-game pitching slate that includes several very, very good true number 1s. Rivaling Jake DeGrom, but offset by 6 FanDuel points, 5 DraftKings points. For 600 less on DraftKings, 400 less on FanDuel. I think he's a dynamite option here. I really do. As mentioned at the top of the show, though, especially with this and that, there's a little bit of upside for a sneaky Rocky stack. Vegas doesn't like it at all. 3.11 implied total is helping Nick Pivetta grab that projection. 9,100 and 9,300 are good prices for those kind of numbers. Pivetta, mediocre over his first 2. Stuff plus is exactly at league average. He's given up a decent amount of exit velo, a lot of barrels in the tiny sample of batted ball events. It looked like 7 innings of 4 strikeout, 1 hit ball against the Braves, the scuffling Braves, but not finding strikeouts when you're going that well against that lineup is at least a little odd. But the 7 innings is great. We know he's stretched out. We know there's upside for depth. There's upside for a quality start on FanDuel. Just 3 innings in his second start. Gave up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, struck out 4, walked 3, allowed a home run. That was against the Cubbies at Wrigley. A little bit of a problem there. That's typically what you're going to get from Pivetta. 28.9 last year on the strikeouts, 6.1% walk rate is good, a 4.14 ERA, but a 3.50 xFIP. Stuff Plus absolutely loves his arsenal. You should honestly, with that kind of a mark on the physics of your pitches, probably be better than Nick Pivetta actually is. You can see home runs were a big issue for him, though, last year. 9.8% barrels allowed on a 19.4 degree average launch got him up to 4.71% home runs. And it's not like it wasn't a problem the year before, 3.92. It's just below our big red flashing indicator. What do you call it? Threshold. A lot of hard hits, a lot of barrels on a fly ball trajectory. You're going to see some happenstance. There will be years where Pivetta's home run number comes in somewhere around here. Just by where those balls got hit on what day. So home runs can be shaky, but he's always given them up. That is encouraging about those home run marks for several true home run hitters. Hunter Goodman and Michael Talia, most importantly, have monstrous power at the plate. They're flawed in a lot of other ways. There's a lot of whiff there. There's plenty of Ks on deck for Nick Pivetta today, and he can make that stuff work for him. But both those guys have real power, and they're both very, very cheap. Hunter Goodman's a catcher for 34 on DraftKings. He's 28, catcher, outfield, and first. Well, catcher, first base, and outfield, with 2 of those things being the same thing. So 2 positions on FanDuel. Brenton Doyle up at the top of the lineup hit his 3rd home run last season. He's off to a great start. 302, 339, 528, a 226 ISO, 398 xWOBA. Excellent option for just 4,300 on DraftKings. 34 on FanDuel is the correct price for Brenton Doyle. That's who he is. Ezequiel Tovar has power. There's a ton of whiffs there as well. Way too many swinging strikes last year, but hit 26 home runs. 8.51 in today's, 26 home runs. 8.51 in today's home run model is a $4,000 DraftKings, $3,100 FanDuel shortstop. Ryan McMahon is Ryan McMahon. He's going to come away with about 20 home runs at the end of the season. 37, 27 across sites. He's not expensive. Lefty bat against a homer-prone righty. Ryan McMahon makes some sense to me at those prices at third base. If we're going Rockies, he's definitely going to be included. Goodman for just 34 is great at those prices. You can see the barrels. The barrels are already there. The hard hit consistency is going to come and go. But when he squares one up, it's going to travel. 2 on the board already this season, a 237 ISO, a 340 xWOBA, 107 WRC+. Chris Bryant is just dead at the plate. Hopefully it comes around at some point. There's nothing to suggest it will. There's nothing from the last few years to suggest that it will, but hopefully. Talia is a priority, 36-26. You get first base and outfield, which is nice on FanDuel because we've got a lot of corner infield guys that we want to roster. So the ability to drop him for 2,600 into the outfield, pick off a cheap home run, love that upside. 17.2% barrels and 50% hard hits, 25 home runs and 458 plate appearances last year. Zach Veen, we've talked about the skill set is ideal for fantasy. He's only 23-22, a lefty bat. He hit second yesterday. Probably drop back down the lineup if Tovar's back today, but Veen is an interesting bat for those prices. Very, very cheap. Then Kyle Farmer's in the lineup. You mix and match your way to some shares of Kyle Farmer if you're building a lot of Rocky stacks, but he's not a priority. 37 plate appearances. He's been pretty good to start the year, but we're usually just looking for Farmer to give us a cheap home run pop from down the bottom of the lineup, and you stick him at like second base as your last man in for 23. But not an ideal bat. Mickey Moniak is really interesting down there. I talked about him yesterday. Former first overall pick, over 23 plate appearances, getting on at a 391 clip. Got traded out of L.A. over to Colorado, or maybe he got DFA'd and signed. I forget. But a 158 WRC plus to start. Great ballpark, obviously, when they're at home. But just an interesting talent. Mickey Moniak, not bad. 14 home runs last year in 418 plate appearances, a 161 ISO, 79 WRC plus obviously leaves a lot to be desired, but over 323 the year before, 280, 307, 495, 215 ISO, 114 WRC plus. This is maybe not a star, or actually, no, honestly, if you double those plate appearances and he maintained that, that's a star. 28 home runs, 200 plus ISO, 100 and change WRC plus. That's an excellent player. Schuer's probably somewhere in the middle if you give him a full season. But there's undeniably at least a little bit of talent there. So getting him that cheap at the bottom of the lineup as a wraparound, going up against, again, what is going to be a chalky pitcher. I don't think, despite the low total, for the DFS side of it, the Rockies, I don't think, are off the board. Might be crazy. Might be wrong. Not sure we get aggressive about it. But if you're looking through your stacks in a highly ranked lineup or a lineup that came out of Sims looking really good, has a small Rockies stack as your secondary, has a Rockies one-off, I'm not taking that out. Padres bats against German Marquez, I definitely think you can have a conversation about. 12.73 in the home run model for Mr. Tatis up at the top. He's got 5 steals, which is really interesting at the top of the lineup. 2 home runs on the board over 52 plate appearances, 364, 442, 523, and a killer 500 xWOBA over his first 52 plate appearances, suggesting that he's actually kind of underperformed the way he's hit the ball. 175 WRC plus. He's been fantastic to start his season. Don't overthink it. Just roster Fernando Tatis against this pitcher. Luis Arraez, hit tool extraordinaire, should probably be leading off ahead of Fernando Tatis, but I won't continue arguing with the team. This is what they're doing, and that's the way it goes. I don't love him at first base. I'd much rather have him at second base like FanDuel lets you do for 27. You're just dealing with a hit tool guy who needs a lot of help from his friends, and the best friend he's got for that is hitting in front of him, not behind him. Manny Machado's not bad, 54, 30, 38, 1 home run on the board. 6 stolen bases is interesting for Manny. 340, 400, 500 start to his year with a 350 xWOBA, 158 WRC plus. Manny has not really, hit a downswing. He was a little bit last year, a little bit in decline, but still hit 29 homers, a 197 ISO, 122 WRC plus. So every reason in the world to believe that Manny Machado will have a good year in the long run. Off to a terrific start. And if he's going to be running on top of it, filling categories for us, makes him really interesting. 54, he's basically fully priced. 38 on FanDuel, same deal. But he's an interesting player and never ceased being an interesting player. Jake Cronenworth, a lot less interesting, 4,200. He's a mix and match guy. 2 home runs on the board this season, a 229 ISO. He'll give you these stretches where he's hitting the ball for a handful of doubles. He'll pick off a home run here and there, and the ISO will go up and down. The premium contact isn't great. 7.7% barrels, 36.5% hard hits last year. Worse the year before. This year so far, kind of in between those two. It's more a doubles hitter. He's perfectly acceptable at second base, though. For 4,000, it's not a bad price to find him. On FanDuel, I'm using him at second, not first base for 29. He's playable, but not a priority. Gavin Sheets, a little bit of power there. 52% hard hits to start his season. Home run on the board. 307 xWOBA is around the average. 116 WRC plus is 16 points above average so far, though. A little bit of run creation ability, a little bit of ability to get on base. Xander Bogaerts, 45, 3,000, 304, 389, 391, 340 xWOBA. Good sign there. 3 stolen bases, 120 WRC plus. Just needs to keep doing exactly what he's doing right now, and it's going to be a strong season from Bogaerts. I'm talking about him since opening day. Jason Hayward, Brandon Lockridge, Elias Diaz at the bottom of the lineup. All are entirely skippable. Mix and match pieces for cheap prices for any one of them. Lockridge gives you a little bit of speed. He's got 2 stolen bases. Hayward, the idea of power. From the left side for cheap, but not really consistent in that department. Maybe he picks you off a cheap lefty home run. We're going up against Marquez. Herman Marquez. 4 strikeouts in his first start. Went 6 innings in that one, which was nice to see. Missed all of last year. 4 hits allowed. Shut out the Phillies at Philadelphia over 6. 3 earned runs, 4 runs total on 5 hits to the Athletics in his second start, 5 innings, 3 strikeouts, and a problematic 6 walks. This is a pitcher who once upon a time it was, dude's good, just needs to get out of Colorado. And then he's just been hurt the last 2 years, actually. Forgot that he would miss the year before as well. 4 starts, 20 innings there, 1 start, 4 innings last year. Last time we saw him, 181 2/3, 19.3% Ks, a 5.0 ERA, but a 4.02 xFIP, a 10.1% swinging strike rate, but only a 25.7% CSW. There was always some good, some bad. We want to see what he looks like in a Cardinals uniform someday, kind of thing with Marquez. Never really got there. I don't think we're going there for DFS, but he's very, very cheap. I will give him that much on DraftKings at 6,000. If you want to roll the dice and think maybe I get a start like that first one against the Phillies, it's there for you. He's not going to project out great, but he is here. It's a pitcher-friendly park. It's a good Padres lineup, but maybe not the absolute best they can be, especially without Jackson Merrill in the lineup. It's an opportunity for Marquez to give you the Apple Box pitcher of the day, but I don't think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be David Festa, even though he's more popular. Pod's also pulling a 449 implied total. That's one of the better marks on the board in Vegas. So Sin City kind of working against that pick. Nick Pivetta, Padres bats, Rockies bats, Herman Marquez on DraftKings, but not on FanDuel at 81. I don't think we're getting there. Even though he went 6 in that game against the Phils, it's really thin. He is cheap. Again, I'll give him that much, but I don't like it on FanDuel. What do we have? 4 games left? Jesus. I got to start doing this faster. Jose Quintana is not an option in his first start of the year. They sent him to AAA out of camp, and he didn't pitch in AAA. Made just 2 starts in spring training. 2 innings and 3 innings. Faced 6 hitters, and then faced 11 hitters. I assume he's been doing work to get stretched out, but I just kind of 4.5 innings, and there it is. That's the default in the model if it doesn't know what to do with a guy. And that's kind of where we're at here. And he probably shouldn't even be as highly projected as he is. I really don't see much. Going up against one of the better offenses in baseball with several very good righties in their lineup and lefties who will not be threatened by having to face Jose Quintana. Let's not overthink it. Let's just look at the Diamondbacks with their 4.76 implied total and talk about how good that lineup looks. On the other side of this one, with Erod on the mound going up against the Brewers, I think it's mostly the same thing, but with a higher end pitcher overall. Like between the two guys, Erod is still the guy with more talent. He did have a monster 12 strikeout performance against the Nationals in his second start. Went 5, faced 20 hitters. Problem being, he gave up 4 earned runs on his way there on 5 hits. He walked 1. First start, he gave up 3 earned on 3 hits to 21 hitters against the Cubbies. Struck out 5, but walked 3. Gave up 2 home runs. You'll get spots of extreme quality from Erod. It's another pitcher we haven't seen a ton of recently. 50 innings last year in 10 starts, just 21% strikeouts, a 5.04 ERA, but a 4.24 xFIP underneath it. Swinging strikes weren't great. The whip was terrible. 2 years ago, 23% Ks over 152 and 2/3, 3.30 ERA, but a 4.06 xFIP. He's a 4-run type pitcher, but the Ks can come and go a little bit. So it wasn't knock you out of your chair shocking to see him put up a dozen strikeouts. That's a very high number, obviously. But it's not completely surprising. Typically, we'll expect, in the 5-6 range. Against this Milwaukee team, last year they were a lot higher at 25.2. Small sample so far, they're only at 21.7. Probably more like a 23% strikeout lineup where he can find some Ks. It could be an okay day for Erod, but I kind of lean more into the Brewers bats. 3.94 implied total kind of follows that track, I think. That's Vegas, just with Brewers like in the middle of the board. They're good enough to beat Erod. There are plenty of talented righties in their lineup as well. So I think we're mostly focused on bats. Reason being for the Erod side of it, despite decent projections, 81-84 just doesn't play great in terms of the price setup of this board. But between the two, you were most definitely using Erod before you use Jose Quintana. White hot Jackson Chourio at the top of the Brewers lineup. I believe he's on a 12-game hit streak. 310, 305, 655, a 304 xWOBA suggests there's work to be done under the covers, but a 161 WRC plus tells us everything is fine. 4 home runs on the board, a 14.3% barrel rate. Kid's a star. Christian Yelich, 56.7% hard hits, 3 home runs, 3 steals. I'm just focused on that. The 348 xWOBA is perfectly is right, a good indicator for what I was about to say about the fact that the slash line is just completely ignore it. Over 52 plate appearances, 182, 308, 409. Don't care. That is a very good outfielder. 52-36, he's appropriately priced. William Contreras, where you need catchers at 47, is cheap. For his quality, I don't care that he's only at 167, 314, 333. 307 xWOBA, a little bit below average, but only by a couple of percentage points, or a couple of points. An 86 WRC plus is below average so far this season. I promise he's going to come roaring back to life. 10% barrels, 49% hard hits last year. Dude is a monster bat at catcher. Rhys Hoskins, 4,100, 2,800. Not much quality so far this year, just a 258 xWOBA. It's very concerning, a 43 WRC plus. Most notably, a 0 ISO over 38 plate appearances. Not great from a guy who only hits for power. 26 homers last year, had a 205 ISO. Creator runs exactly at league average. If he's not hitting home runs, he does not belong in the lineup. 41-28, he's cheap enough to find out on DFS sites. 9.35 in the home run model. There's upside there. Sal Frelick, hit tool, a little bit of speed. Vinny Capra, 2.31 in the home run model. He's got 1 on the season. There's not much really to speak of there. Isaac Collins, Joey Ortiz, Bryce Turang. I think Ortiz is decent. He's cheap at 26 for 3 positions on FanDuel, 35 on DraftKings. The price is fine, but I don't love the fact that you have to put him at shortstop on DK. But that said, on FanDuel, you're putting him at short or third if you're including him and Turang, because Turang fills second base. Between the two, I probably prefer Turang and just use him as a wraparound, especially given the start. 296, 328, 481, a 383 xWOBA with a 125 WRC plus, pair of stolen bases, and 3 home runs. He only hit 7 homers all of last year, so that's a nice little uptick in power so far. 50 steals despite a 316 on base is where he gets interesting for DFS scoring and as a wraparound play if he's getting on base more consistently. Diamondbacks, Geraldo Perdomo has been performing in the top spot in this lineup. He's a performer from the bottom spot, so that's not totally surprising. Dude's really good at getting to first base, 389 on base, a 356 xWOBA so far to start the season over 55 plate appearances. 2 home runs, 2 steals, 145 WRC plus. Keep doing what you're doing, 44-29. Good way to start a lineup if you're building with Diamondbacks, and they're one of the more highly implied teams on the board at 4.76 implied runs. Love the option for a cheaper Geraldo Perdomo to continue doing what he's doing. Hitting ahead of Corbin Carroll, Lourdes Gurriel, Randall Grichuk, a little bit of righty pop, and Corbin Carroll in that group? Yes. For the prices that they're at? Yes. Carroll's got 5 home runs already, a 520 xWOBA, a 215 WRC plus. Dude is mashing to start the season. Starting this season like you finished last season. Monster. 21.1% barrels, 63.2% hard hits. But you can do this to that $5,900 price. And now I'm taking, and actually I probably would go, probably apologize to Mr. Grichuk and leave him out of it and do that and get Suarez in there. And I'm at $4,800 a man for Perdomo, Carroll, Gurriel, Josh Naylor, and Joanny Suarez, who could easily be priced at $5,000 in this spot against, again, Jose Quintana. That is a really aggressively interesting stack. And then, again, Grichuk is very playable in there. So let's say you wanted to go, let's say we want to leave the shortstop out of it. It's not a good choice. Nah, I'll leave Gurriel out of it. And we'll flip the outfielders and lower the price to 46. It's a bargain. It's a high quality lineup. Suarez has 5 home runs that he hit very early. He's got a 421 xWOBA, which is the thing to focus on there. The power is very real. The consistency is never going to be real at all with this hitter, but he can mash when he makes contact. 23.3% barrels and a 60% hard hit rate so far. Grichuk with a 21% barrel rate from the right side out of the gate. Only cost 3,200, 2,600. This is a very small sample of batted ball events, but that wasn't. 11% barrels, 47.6% hard hits last year. Randall Grichuk has always been a right-handed power bat or moderate power. Hit 12 last year in 279 plate appearances with a 236 ISO. Year before, 16 in 471 with a 191 ISO. Again, going up against Jose Quintana, who's going to be throwing left-handed batting practice up there to these guys. Love that option. Naylor, don't sweat the lefty-lefty, 49-32. He's got a home run, 3 stolen bases, 340, 418, 511. Not an ideal ballpark for him, but it's not going to matter that much, and it's not going to matter that much against this pitcher. 401 xWOBA to start the season, creating runs 59% better than average. Moreno is a highly playable catcher bat, even though he's, 353 on base is where we need. It just hasn't done much in terms of the counting stats, but the 267, 353, 267, just a 304 xWOBA with just an 84 WRC plus is the problematic part. But as long as he's getting on base, it's a quality bat. Then other numbers will come around. McCarthy is a mix and match outfielder, hasn't done anything yet this season, but he'll get on base every now and again. He'll be involved, but not a priority by any stretch of the imagination. And then Tim Tawa, interesting minor league numbers, cheap at the bottom of the lineup. Sneaky, cheap. He's up a little bit from the min price. You can go there. 12 underwhelming plate appearances so far. Diamondbacks, Brewers, Erod, No Jose Quintana. The pitching duel of the day, boys and girls and everybody else. Burgo, North Carolina's in the house. Eddie B coming in. Good to see you, buddy. Whole bunch of people here hanging out. Hit the like button, subscribe if you get a chance. I know we're going long today. I appreciate all you guys. Everybody watching on the replay and 3x speed. Probably hearing me talk like one of the chipmunks, but that's all right. Really appreciate all you guys. Check out rotoscouts.com. I won't do the full plug, but under $1 a day, access to all the projections for all the sports. Synthetica, what's going on? Afternoon to you too, pal. Let's get through these last few games because I still got to project an NBA slate and an NHL slate. Those will be up on the site for your dollar, under $1 a day. Henry Siegel loves Jake DeGrom today. So do I, buddy. Monster projection, top of the board, under 10K on both sites for Jake DeGrom. Getting stretched out. We went from 70-something to 80-something, start over start, 5 2/3 in his last game. Wasn't great. Wasn't exactly vintage DeGrom. 5 2/3 against the Rays. 4 earned runs on 8 hits, 2 home runs allowed, 3 strikeouts, no walks. The 3 strikeouts were the biggest surprise of that one. The first start went 5 innings, allowed just 2 hits over 20 hitters to the Red Sox, also a good club. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, a lot more DeGrom-esque for 20 hitters. I think we're going up from those. This is the team we've been talking about since essentially the start of last year, and certainly the start of this year, as one of our biggest targets for pitching, especially in their home park. There's just so many strikeouts available in this Mariners lineup. So far this year, they're only at 21.1%. They're actually overachieving in that department because these guys were 25% for this same collection of hitters the last 2 years. There are plenty of Ks here. This is a pitcher-friendly ballpark. It's also working on Bryce Miller's side, by the way. He looks excellent as well. He's one of the top projected pitchers of the day, and he's downright cheap at 85 on DraftKings. But this is the DeGrom spot for sure. Major upside. Not that threatening as far as this offense, just given their free swinging nature combined with his ability to miss bats. I don't expect much from the Mariners. I don't expect them to have many opportunities with guys on to hit the big knock. So even if a Cal Raleigh turns on one, I don't think it's going to be overly damaging to Jake DeGrom. I think we're getting our foot in the right spot with DeGrom starting today. 95 is a great price. 99 is a great price. You can see for yourself where he projects. And that's just giving him 6. Nothing crazy, not telling the model he's going to go 7+ or anything like that. This is just pure 6, which I think is easily in the cards. And it's not crazy if you're just talking innings. If he's breezing through these hitters, we could get a 7th inning. It's just about the pitch count. We're dealing with 90-something pitches, I think. But he could easily strike out 10 of these guys on that many pitches. Miller, 5 1/3 in his most recent start. That was at San Francisco. 4 earned runs, 7 hits, just 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. Uncharacteristic start to the season for Miller. 5 2/3 against the Athletics. Struck out 4, walked 2, gave up a homer, 3 earned on 6 hits. Hasn't been great. Opportunity to maybe correct things a little bit. But this is a low strikeout Ranger squad. 22% so far this year, 21%, 22% the last 2 years. Not a great spot. But Miller could find his way through. Again, the ballpark is going to help him out. And he's way, way better than he's looked like so far this year. If we look at last season, 31 starts, 180 1/3, 24.3% Ks, 6.4% walks, sparkling little strikeout to walk rate. Stuff Plus loves the arsenal, 12 points above average. He was sub 1 whip for the full season. 2.94 ERA, but a 3.85 xFIP is, probably more the truth. 3.5 run type pitcher. 11% swinging strike rate is excellent with the opportunity to improve on that. I think he just needs to find the full season form, and we're going to be right back to normal with Bryce Miller. So could start today. I like him at 92 on FanDuel. I will use him. 85 on FanDuel. I like him, or on DraftKings. I like him a little bit more over there because it's a nice price. You do have Corey Seager above the magic number for home runs, and then Adelise, Jake Berger, Jock Peterson, Marcus Semien, all kind of floating around the home run number. It's not a non-threatening Texas lineup by any means. We can see these guys come through for power. They've been pretty mediocre to start the season, though. Semien with just a 9 WRC plus and a 248 xWOBA, concerningly. 122, 189, 184 to start the year, just a .061 ISO. Really ugly out of Marcus Semien so far. We saw a decline start last year, but there were still good indicators. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, still doing a lot of Marcus Semien things. The bat on ball should return at least to, moderate form. The price is down at 43,000. So I think he's very usable, but we might start to grow concerned if this continues over another 50 some odd plate appearances and we get out into the 150, 100 range and we're still dealing with numbers like this. We'll be talking about it a little bit more. Corey Seager's a superstar, 3 home runs on the board, 220 ISO, 106 WRC plus, 14.3% barrels, still growing back into midseason form, not there by any stretch yet, but 3 homers are nice. 4,900 is a very good price for him. Lefty bat against a righty here, 3,400 on FanDuel, 10 plus in the home run model. You can sign up for some Seager. 18.9% barrels, 54% hard hits is all I really care about from Adelise, both up from last year. 2 home runs, 2 steals, 410 ex-Woba, defies everything else about the slash line. Definitely interested in some Adelise Garcia shares if I'm going to Rangers. He remains a deadly good power bat. Jock Peterson against any righty is capable of going deep. He's only 2,600 on FanDuel. He's only 33 on DraftKings. If you're going Rangers, take some Jock Peterson shares. The power is very real, has been for years against right-handed pitching. Despite not doing anything over 38 plate appearances, don't sweat it. He's one of the reasons you would be taking Rangers here. Jake Berger's got a pair of home runs on the board, not much else, just a 297 xWOBA, a 24 WRC plus. He's very cheap for a guy who hit 30 home runs last year and similar numbers the year before. Josh Young for 35-28 is interesting and cheap. 15 plate appearances have been pretty good this year, but that's a nothing sample. He's barreled the ball a few times. Good at putting bat on ball, true power there, cheap at third base. Josh Smith is like a mix and match quality guy who can go on little tears of outperforming his talent. And then everybody gets excited about him, and then he reminds us who he actually is. But he's off to a good start. He's off to one of those over 32 plate appearances. Jonah Heim's got some catcher power for 4,000, 2,900. Lodi Taveras is a mix-and-match outfielder. Mariners feel kind of like a mistake against Jake DeGrom, honestly. I'm going to be targeting them super heavily with the pitcher. If you're looking to just get super contrarian, there are better options. Let's remember who Jake DeGrom is. He's just been missing. He's never been anything but the best pitcher in baseball when he's healthy. If you're going to Mariners, you're starting with Julio. Then it's probably Cal. Then it's probably Otto Serena, but I can make an argument for Luke Raley. I can make an argument for Jorge Polanco. Obviously, you can 5-man that on DK. You're dealing with 4 out of those 5 hitters are currently sub Mendoza over 30 to 50 plate appearances. A handful of home runs for each of them. A couple of stolen bases for each of them. Nobody's really getting on base outside of Jorge Polanco at a great clip. The xWOBA numbers are actually okay. WRC plus is kind of come and gone. It's a fair amount of strikeouts right there, though. Everybody not named Jorge Polanco is striking out at or above 24%. And if you just 4 out of 5 the top there, that's 26.1% strikeouts this year. That same group of 4 of those 5 guys was 27.3. And Jorge Polanco's real number was 29% last year, which puts it at 27.7. You think Jake DeGrom can't blaze a trail through this 3 times or 2 times? That's 5 strikeouts staring you in the face over the first 2 innings. And Luke Raley, not much better. Rowdy Tellez is the next hitter up, who's no better than any of those guys in terms of avoiding the strikeouts. It's a monster opportunity for case for Jake DeGrom. Dylan Moore, Miles Mastrobuoni, J.P. Crawford, entirely undesirable down the bottom of the lineup. Mix and match quality guys against, a bad pitcher or an okay pitcher. Against Jake DeGrom, these guys are pushovers. This is not a good spot. If you're rostering Mariners, to be contrarian, and if you're out there getting too cute about it, feel free to play any one of those guys in your lineup because they could certainly do something. And then you would absolutely want to have it. Between that group of hitters, it's probably Dylan Moore at 35-26 with multi-position. He's got a pair of home runs and 2 steals on the board this season. But not a one of those guys is all that good. Jake DeGrom in a big, big way. Bryce Miller after that. Then Rangers bats against Bryce, and really Mariners are a low-end consideration. I think you're getting too cute. I think you're outthinking yourself if you're planning on taking Mariners against Jake DeGrom just because he's going to be popular, just because it'll be the contrarian thing to do. rather good through 4 versus the Rays, but had a bad 5th. Yeah, it's we got the Orioles game rained out. I just got a note from Yahoo about that. So Toronto at Baltimore officially rained out, it seems. We'll deal with that. We'll get it out of the projections. But yeah, I thought I remembered that somewhere along the way, but I didn't say it because I wasn't 100% sure that that's how it went, and I only had the box score sitting there. I would love to figure out a better source of those box scores that give me like the pitcher game logs, that give me a little bit better of an idea of how it's staggered. Like something like what Popcorn Machine does with NBA minutes, where you can see like who's playing with who came off when and came on, and what the stretches of the rotations and everything look like. I wish I could get some kind of quality map for starts. There's probably something out there that I'm not aware of, but that would be dynamite. I was thinking about that earlier today. I would also love to be able to like build something in here where I can click on a guy and take us to his StatCast pitcher overlay, where we're seeing a lot of those different results, where we're seeing what Stuff Plus on each of the individual pitches looks like. It's just there's only so much I can put on one of these screens, and we're already pretty crowded. Yeah, I love Popcorn Machine for basketball. All right, 5.35 implied runs for the Mets, 4.76 for the A's. These are two major spots for hitting. This is a minor league ballpark in Sacramento. As stated, I thought it was going to play more neutral. Graphs seem to think it was going to be that way because of the air density issue. So far, it's been playing up for power. Part of that probably a little bit to do with the home run hitters on the A's and just their hot start that they've had. But the ballpark's definitely playing up. Vegas is definitely seeing it play up. We've got two guys who can definitely allow home runs on the mound in Griff Canning and JP Sears. We're seeing the top 4 hitters all way over the magic number for home run power on the Mets. We're seeing the top 4 hitters all over the magic number for home run power on the A's. Game stacks, one-offs for home runs. This seems ideal for DFS. I expect this is going to get popular because this is, implied runs wise, run total wise, this looks like Coors did. So I think everybody and their brother is going to be here, but it's a very high quality spot. So what we're going to be looking for, I think, is maybe what can we pick off that the field's not going to be on? To start that conversation, $7,300 Griff Canning as an SP2 on DraftKings. I promise you the field's not going to be on that. 5 2/3 in his first outing, 2 earned runs, walked 2, struck out 4. Second game, struck out 6, but walked 3, allowed just 1 earned on 4 hits, but only faced 19 hitters over 4 innings against Toronto. Not exactly sure. Why would he come out of that game? $89 pitches. That's why he came out of that game. So threw a lot of pitches to get through to get to those 6 strikeouts and 3 walks. He must have gotten to a lot of full counts. So the issue with Canning has always been there's talent there. There are Ks there. But there's also the disgusting side of it where he gives up way too much power, and he's a target for left-handed bats for power. He's been over a 4% home run rate each of the last 2 years. There were signs of life in 23. He had a 25.9% strikeout rate. That's kind of the good. 4.32 ERA, but a 3.82 xFIP, kind of the good. 12.8% swinging strike rate with a 29.5% CSW. That's what I'm talking about when I say there is talent here. There is strikeout ability here. Coming into the Mets, people were kind of excited about him, buzzy through camp as far as working with their coaching staff and developing out some of his arsenal. Stuff Plus was grading out really well through camp. He was very effective through the spring. First couple starts have been, mediocre. 93.74 is a little improvement by Stuff Plus, but it's still way below average. You can see the massive amount of hard hits and exit velo he's given up in the tiny sample. He's given up a home run already. The swinging strikes, the CSW have been there. The strikeouts have been there. He's walked too many. But a 3.84 xFIP over those first couple, 2.79 ERA. Maybe we can dabble and get really contrarian with a Griff Canning share or 2 at 7,300. I don't think we're chasing it at 77 on FanDuel, especially with that pitch, that ability to quickly elevate that pitch count like he did in that last game. Probably not enough meat on the bone for a quality start. Maybe you get a cheap decent outing over here. But more likely, we're just getting bats. I'm not chasing JP Sears in this one at 77.82. I think those prices are a little bit too far off the mark. 17.6% strikeouts from him. He was 18-1 last year. He was 21-9 the year before. So I think there's just not as high a ceiling as potentially with Canning. And I think he's facing the far better of these two lineups when it's all said and done. So Sears mostly off the board. Canning only for sneaky dart throws. And I'm talking about like you're dressed all in black at night, hiding behind something, popping up, throwing a dart at somebody, and then ducking back down like assassin style, sneaky kind of dart throw because it doesn't look very good. Monster power showing for the A's. Monster power showing for the Mets. Francisco Lindor at 51.36 is fairly priced, cheap, affordable. I don't know what it is, but I want some. 244, 292, 366. I don't care. 377 X. Well, I do care. 1 home run, 2 stolen bases. I promise he's going to be perfectly fine. We saw this last year. Low strikeouts. The walks are where they should be. He's going to be perfectly fine. He's got a masher of baseballs. He's excellent at shortstop. Just put him in. Juan Soto, 62, 41, 279, 404, 442, 373 ex-Woba, though. 143 WRC plus. Just 1 homer, 1 steal. A lot of idiot Yankee fans crossing out Soto on their number 22 jerseys and penciling in Rice as if Ben Rice remotely belongs in any conversation when it comes to Juan Soto. Literally the best hitter of this generation versus some guy who probably won't be in the league next year. It's idiotic. God, I hate Yankee fans. Pete Alonso, 57-39, 3 home runs on the board, 333, 451, 667, a 513 ex-Woba to start his season, 209 WRC plus, 29.7% barrels and 64.9% hard hits, and the dude couldn't find a job during the offseason. Can't say it enough. It's astounding that one of the best home run hitters in the league had to settle and come back to the team he didn't want to play for anymore. Mark Vientos is just 4,000 on DraftKings. He's 2,800. We chased this price all last year. Rarely did he get above 5,000 while hitting a ton of home runs in a breakout year. What did he hit? 27 in 450 plate appearances last year. The start to this season has been abysmal, but you just keep going there as the price goes down because that's where we get our bargains. That's an upside piece that maybe for the struggles to start this season, people are overlooking. 11.55 in our home run model today. Brendan Nimmo at just 42.29. Dipped for power, dipped for quality overall. He's got 2 home runs on the board this year. What you cling to is the 365 ex-Woba to start his year. The 15.8% barrels and 57.9% hard hits are way above what he was doing last year, which was barreling the ball frequently, hitting it very hard frequently. Brendan Nimmo is still a very good lefty bat. He's also very cheap at 42.29. I don't care about lefty-lefty with this hitter and this pitcher, so I think that's another spot. Maybe we get a cheap and underappreciated Brendan Nimmo there. And just, again, ignore the triple slash over these plate appearances. Focus on the ex-Woba number. Starlin Marte, 39-27, mix and match quality, could hit you a home run, could steal you a couple bags. He's just okay, though, at this point in his career, but he's not expensive. So in a stack that we're excited to get to, if you need to offset some price and take 3 of the stars and the power bats, Starlin Marte is a very good alternative to one of those guys. He's not Juan Soto, but he's 2,500 less than Juan Soto. 2,700. Tyrone Taylor at 27-24 is a mix and match piece who does hit the occasional right-handed home run. He plays up well against mediocre lefties. So if he's in the lineup, I think he can go there for cheap as just an alternative bat. Again, he's not one of the most desirable hitters here, but he can definitely drive the ball effectively against this pitcher. Luis Angel Acuna has major pedigree, a little bit of upside, a lot of prospect success coming up. We'll see what it translates to, but over 36 plate appearances last year, he had 3 home runs, 197 WRC plus and a cup of coffee. And then Hayden Senger doesn't look like he's done much of anything in 19 plate appearances, probably entirely skippable at the bottom of the lineup. On the A's side, Lawrence Butler, 49-29. Excellent opportunity to grab some fairly priced to cheap Lawrence Butler. Cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DK, I would say, at that 29. 12.2% barrels, 43.9% hard hits. Both of those numbers are in line with last year. The barrels are up. The hard hits are down a little bit, but that's still a good hard hit number, and it's a very small sample. 15.5% strikeouts and 13% walks. 352 ex-Woba, 127 WRC plus this season. Hit 22 home runs and stole 18 bases and 451 chances last year. Lawrence Butler is a borderline breakout star in a full season. Was a very buzzy player in full season. Brent Rooker, 4 home runs on the board. we'll come around on the 190, 217, 397, or we won't. We'll go back to saying that he swings and misses too much. My money's on him improving that and looking a lot like he did last year. He's too smart a hitter to not. 350 xWOBA backs that up. 207 ISO. If not, we're just getting home runs and we're doing Brent Rooker things. That's also fine. Tyler Soderstrom is still only 4,400 despite an 18.4% barrel rate to start his season and 6 home runs in 54 plate appearances. Remember how your pal on opening day was ranting and raving about being pissed off about missing that guy in the dynasty draft and getting screwed on him? This is why. Kid's really good. I don't expect this torrid pace to keep up all season long, but 30 home runs, especially with this start, 30 home runs are on the board. Really interesting power bat. Shea Langolier is a mix and match quality catcher with tons and tons of power, but not much else to offer. 3 home runs already on the board. 353 xWOBA, creating runs 29% better than average. Definitely include some Langoliers if you're taking shots against Griff Canning here. And again, Griff Canning allows a ton of home runs. JJ Bleday as a lefty bat against Canning. Lefties play up big time for power against Canning. Bleday's got a little bit of pop. 1 home run on the board this season, a 109 ISO and a 276 xWOBA. Needs to get it in gear pretty quick, but a cheap lefty bat. Miguel Andujar is a hit tool specialist. Jacob Wilson, excellent hit tool, off to a 396, 583 start over 48 plate appearances. 362 xWOBA backs up that he can drive the ball a little bit. Gio Urshela, Max Muncy. It's just Max, not Max A. I'm taking the A off when it goes up to the website. If you see it accidentally on there with the A on it, just take the A out and he'll upload, or just click to upload it depending on where you're at. But that's just to distinguish which Max Muncy we're talking about until they actually do something about that at the websites. Mets bats and Vegas at 5.35 implied runs. A's bats and Vegas at 4.76 implied runs. And then maybe your occasional sneaky Griff Canning dart. Don't tell anybody I said that. It's a pitcher I really like to target with bats, so I'm not overly enthused. Last game up. We made it. Finally. 41 people still here hanging out. 4:30. Greg Biancone, jumping in. Surprised at that level of stupidity from supposed elite Yankee fans. Just maddeningly absurd. Whoever told you that Yankee fans are elite doesn't know what they're talking about. It is, in my opinion, by far the dumbest and worst population of fans in baseball, because they have the largest, or maybe now it's second largest, population of just tourist fans, of just fans around the world who, just know the brand, don't know anything about baseball. Listen to Alex Rodriguez when he's on broadcasts and think, oh, A-Rod must know what he's talking about. I'll adopt his opinions. Yankees fans are dumb. Yeah, I figured you were probably being sarcastic, Craig. Yeah, Yankees fans are the worst. There's some good ones, obviously. Our pal Gundacker's a Yankee fan. This guy's a Yankee fan, whatever you think of me. There's some good people who sit behind me at Yankees games for the last few years that, basically know their stuff. They're not like stat head type fans, but they're at least not idiots. Go to a Yankees game. Watch these people leap out of their seats for a pop-up behind home plate, thinking it's a home run. They have no idea. And then when it comes to actually talking about the game, how the lineup should be, whether Ben Rice is better than Juan Soto or not, it's idiotic. Barely tolerable. Anyway, Matthew Boyd, the good start's probably going to come to a crashing stop. 0 ERA, but a 4.16 xFIP already betrays the true numbers. This is a 4+ run type pitcher. He's had his moments for some Ks as a lefty. In his first 2 starts, he struck out exactly 5. Again, has not given up an earned run, but gave up 5 hits in 1 over 6 innings, 4 hits in another over 6. That was to the Padres and the Diamondbacks. Walked 3 in 1, walked 1 in another. Just tap danced his way through. In 39 2/3 last year, he did come away with a 27.7% strikeout rate, 2.72 ERA, but a 3.89 xFIP. And when you talk about getting away with stuff, the fact that he put up that strikeout rate, that swinging strike rate with stuff and arsenal that grades out like that by Stuff Plus, I don't know how that would continue in the long term. As I said before about whoever that was, there are guys who can defy Stuff Plus a little bit. But I don't think it's to that degree. That's just a weird outlier result. 24.1% K is a 4.37 xFIP, a 5.45 ERA, but a very solid 14% swinging strike rate 2 years ago. Has just always put a few too many guys on, has always not been able to just get his way out of those key innings. It's a guy who could have had better numbers in the long term than he did with, a couple pitches here and there in the right spot. And it's not something that truly comes through xFIP totally cleanly, because a part of it is just how he pitches. Against other teams, maybe in spots we'll be arguing for him. We might have missed our 2 opportunities to use him, but not against the Dodgers today. Yamamoto, on the other hand, really interesting. He's going up against a very good Cubs team that we've got a healthy respect for. We've used and succeeded with a bunch of times. They're drawing an 11.1% walk rate, and he's walking 9.5% of hitters, which is concerning. They're only striking out in a 19.1% clip, and they're very good at avoiding the strikeouts and drawing the walks. Those are 2 real stats for this lineup. But Yamamoto also does strike out 30% of opposing hitters. He's got a 1.69 ERA with a 2.60 xFIP underneath it. He's inducing a 13.4% swinging strike rate. Last year in 90 innings, he had a 28.5% strikeout rate with a 12% swinging, 3.0 ERA with a 2.86 xFIP. Interestingly, he is like exactly at 100.11, exactly each of those in both of those samples, and like exactly at league average as far as what the arsenal looks like, via physics. But his ability to keep the ball down, his ability to miss barrels enhances how some of that stuff works. And he does have good strikeout numbers. I don't love the price, especially on FanDuel at 10.6. I'm much more intrigued by, even with popularity, Jake DeGrom for 9.9, 9.5. I said this at the beginning of the show. Those are uncomfortably high prices for him against a good Cubs lineup. It's really the only ding here. I would just rather spend the money on DeGrom, Pivetta, Aaron Nola, Bryce Miller, even some, Reese Olson and some of these guys in mix and match shares. I'm probably going to come up pretty light on Yamamoto, given this Cubs team's ability to get on base and then find the big knock. But if you're rostering him, and especially if you're doing it because he's low owned via whatever ownership projections you're looking at because of those prices, then there's every reason in the world to at least consider it. He is good enough to beat this Cubs team, no doubt about it. 344 implied total suggests that it's probably not the day to roster Cubs just to be contrarian. I think they're better than that total even against this pitcher, again, kind of via those walks and ability to get on base and miss the strikeouts, but probably not the day to go chase it. If you do, Kyle Tucker is your priority, 63.45. He's got 5 home runs, 3 steals, a 4.52 on base, a 4.87 xWOBA, 2.08 WRC plus to start his year. He's mashing the ball in terms of premium contact. He's in all your Cub stacks, basically. Ian Happ, problematic 2.97 on base, but a 3.32 xWOBA underneath it, 73 WRC plus. We know the quality will come around with Ian Happ. It's been a bad 74 plate appearances. I am in no way concerned. This is too good a player to struggle for that long. 46 is cheap. 33 is fair. Seiya Suzuki at 53.35 has a 4 home runs on the board, has a 300, 403, 567 slash line, 267 ISO, 383 xWOBA, creating runs 71% better than average. 15.4% barrels for him in the small sample. He's been tremendous. Michael Busch, pretty good contact option, 11.2% barrels last year. That's down to 3.3% in the small sample so far this year. Just 48 plate appearances for Busch. 375 on base, a 325 xWOBA, 136 WRC plus. There's some good, some bad in the small sample so far this year, but Busch had a decent season last year. 21 homers in 567 plate appearances with a 192 ISO. Creator runs 19% better than average. Part of that collection of hitters that can draw his walks and create runs even if he's not hitting for power. Dansby at 47.32 has 4 home runs on the board. At least the power's there. 211, 281, 474 is underwhelming as a slash line over 65 plate appearances, but a 51.1% hard hit is right where we want it. And a 410 xWOBA suggests there's much more to come. 111 WRC plus. Love Dansby Swanson. Always have. Disappointed us in a lot of spots last year. I like him to overperform his numbers from last season at least. Nico is a mix and match piece with a little bit of speed. He's stolen 6 bases. As long as he's getting on base, he can be viable for DFS as a cheap second base option, but needs help from his friends. Pete Armstrong, 211, 286, 263, at 265 xWOBA. It's getting concerning around Pete Armstrong's bat, but he's going to be in the lineup every day because of his defense. Matt Shaw, Miguel Amaya, mix and match guys. Shaw underperforming expectations so far, but should come around a little bit. 25, cheap at third base. Like him better with multi-position, though. And then there's the Dodgers, 466 implied total, one of the top marks on the day. Not sure who this Otani, Shuhei Otani at the top of the board. Not really sure about him. 6,400, 4,500, 11.56 in your home run model for Mr. Otani. 4 home runs, 3 stolen bases. 470 xWOBA, 182 WRC plus. Find something bad to say about Shohei Otani. I dare you to try. There's nothing there. He's all world. 6,000 for Mookie Betts, 4,300 for Mookie Betts makes it very difficult to put those two hitters together from the top of the lineup. I think it's viable to go 1-1 and just alternate back and forth between those guys if you're building a bunch of Dodger stacks. Where you can, you obviously want them both, but they're closing in on cheap pitcher pricing as like 2 options now. So it gets difficult. Mookie at 310, 396, 548, despite losing all that weight preseason, seems just fine to me. Freddie Freeman, supposed to be back today, 48-37, 2 home runs on the board. Maybe we're seeing the decline. He's like 39 years old now, maybe 40, but still a tremendous option at first base. And even if there's a decline, it won't be by much. And you can see over his 12 plate appearances, 577 xWOBA. That's something to cling to. Last year, the decline did maybe begin. I've highlighted this before, but it made him a 282, 378, 476 hitter who created runs 37% better than average, hit 22 home runs with a 194 ISO. So if that's a decline, that's still one of the top first basemen in baseball. It's just you're coming down from 331, 410, 567, 29 homers, 235 ISO. It's a steep place to decline from is really the only issue with Freddie. Teoscar Hernandez for 5,000, 3,900, 5 homers on the board, a 382 xWOBA, a 340 ISO, 157 WRC plus. Will Smith creating runs 90% better than average with a 404 xWOBA to start his season over 44 plate appearances. Tommy Edman, of all people, has 5 home runs on the board. He's got they read these numbers the other day. Can I find it easily? Let's see. There he is. Since joining the Dodgers last year, he made 153 plate appearances last year and 58 so far this year. So 211 plate appearances. Tommy Edman has a 218 ISO with 11 home runs on the board. 109 WRC plus. Just 244, 294, 461. But the power's been outrageous from Edman. Only 18% strikeouts and 6.2% walks too. He's putting good bat on ball. He's a guy who was always good for a handful of home runs. Some steals. Where is he? 6? Going back in time, 13 homers, 32 steals, a 108 WRC plus over 630, a lot of which came in the leadoff role that year. 13 home runs, 27 steals the following year. And then starting this run with the Dodgers. Again, in essentially half of the plate appearances that you're seeing here, he's got almost as many home runs as he does in each of these 13 home run seasons. Dude just loves playing in Dodger blue, I guess. Enrique Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, and Andy Pajes at the bottom of the lineup. Pajes is the best bat among them as far as searching for power. Enrique does have 4 home runs on the board, but he's only slashing 103, 163, 410. Does have a 319 xWOBA, which is closing in or right around the average. 56 WRC plus. A true utility man. I don't love him at first base. Out of all those guys, you just kind of want to grab a second baseman or just grab Pajes and put him in the outfield. So that's probably what I would do if I need to cheapen up my Dodgers is just take Andy Pajes off the bottom at a 4.64 in the home run model, plug him into your outfield and just run with it. But not one of those guys at the bottom is overly encouraging. It is kind of a 6-man unit and everybody's a little bit expensive. But like, let's say you skip Otani and go with those 5. That's 5,000 a piece and you are getting quality there. If you include Otani and Betts, what's the best we can do? We can get Freddie at 48. We'll get Will in there at 45, and we'll probably go Edman and apologize to Teoscar. It's 52. It's doable, but it's very expensive. And you're skipping Teoscar Hernandez to get there. So Dodgers uncomfortably priced, one of the worst value spots on the day, but obviously it's the Dodgers going up against a very gettable lefty. This goes Dodgers bats, Yoshi Yamamoto, Cubs bats, Matthew Boyd, probably not for me at those prices. I think that's a little bit rough. Let me pull this over here. This is our pitching board one last time. In the interest of time and having to project out this NBA slate, I'm not going to run through the pitchers again, But there they are, all laid out together. I will highlight one last time that I love David Festa at that 65 as your SP2 of the day on DraftKings. And Reese Olson on the other side of that game at 71 is also damn interesting as your SP2 on DraftKings. Yeah, that's not incorrect, Lar. I would kind of side with you on that one. Greg was saying, did the whole evolution of de-evolution of the Yankees fans start with the bleacher creatures, 40-year-old man calling himself the sheriff? Larry said, yeah, I'm more with Larry. I blame talk radio, the Yankees 90s run. Yeah, just front running, attaching on fans being one of the biggest global brands in the sport and just getting fans from all over and just being on TV so much, in my opinion, is the biggest part of it. You know, there's a big difference between being on your local cable, Yes Network, whatever, and being on Fox every day, or now these days, you know, Amazon, Apple, Fox, etc., wherever you can find a Yankee game. So just so much ignorant broadcasting that gets fed to these people. If you had better broadcasters, you'd have more intelligent fans. But a lot of times the fans themselves are ignorant to the degree where they don't want to hear from the better broadcasters because they either don't understand what they're being told or don't understand how those numbers work with the numbers they're used to. So they just want to hear the back of the baseball card stats, and it just breeds just further ignorance. But yeah, there's a lot more smart fan bases out there than Yankee fans, for sure. And I'm saying that with this logo on my head. With that in mind, guys, let me punch out so I can get some NBA projections updated. First thing I'll do is update all the lineups and throw those up on the site so you've got baseball all set for whatever's confirmed, and I'll keep an eye on that as we go. Basketball will be up shortly after that. Hockey will be up shortly after that. Fortunately, it's only like 5 hockey games tonight, but I'm behind. So let me go do that. Ohtani or Tucker? Tucker because he's cheaper, probably. Right? He's a little bit cheaper. 63. It's only $100. In that case, Ohtani. You definitely, since there's a negligible price difference, I was thinking it was several hundred. Negligible price difference or the same price on FanDuel. If that's where you're playing, take Ohtani against Matthew Boyd every time. With that in mind, you guys, good luck out there tonight on this monster slate. It's going to be a fun one. Somebody go win something. Share a screenshot of it when you do. Check out rotoscouts.com. Check out our guys over at acemine.io. Give Gundacker some love over at, what's the name of his site? MLB DFS, Gundacker DFS. I forget exactly what his name is. Search Gundacker DFS. You'll find him. We're going to get together and do some stuff, I promise. And that's it. We'll be back on Monday at the latest 4 shows. Probably nothing tomorrow. Probably nothing Sunday with all the NBA chaos that we're getting. See you guys.